evening, President Carver, Vice President Pack, members of the governing board, Superintendent Finch, Mrs. Taylor, district staff, and our room full of special guests. I apologize tonight because I have almost no voice, but don't worry, there's other guest speakers, thankfully, tonight. Tonight, we're recognizing our extraordinary staff making an impact inside the four walls of our classrooms, our teachers. Since 1986, the Deer Valley Education Foundation, also known as DVEF, has supported the work and achievement of our Deer Valley students and staff. And for the past 30 years, they have recognized our most outstanding teachers. To continue the tradition of honoring their extraordinary group of educators, it's my pleasure and my great thanks tonight to honor DVEF board member and introduce Deer Valley Education Teacher of the Year Coordinator, Karen Meyer.
Good evening and welcome to our Teacher of the Year, Rookie of the Year, and National Board Certified Teacher Celebration. The Deer Valley Education Foundation is so pleased to sponsor this event. First, we would like to thank our sponsors, and they're up there on the slides so you can see them. Discover Financial, Chase, McCarthy, Grads Photography, DKG, and VSMG. Each teacher will receive a commemorative plaque, a rose from Delta Kappa Society, and a check for $500 this evening. And now it is my pleasure to introduce our Teachers of the Year. I am going to ask for you to hold your applause as we read a little bit about each one and they come across and shake hands. And then after they're all introduced, we will have a thunderous round of applause. So first we begin with Tara Bogawevich, who has 8 years of experience and now teaches third grade at Constitution. Stated, my greatest contribution has been my dedication to Title I students and my mindset of being a forever learner. I am deeply embedded and dedicated to the students and families that call Constitution their home. We honor Ms. Bogovich this evening. Next, we have Stacy Brocious, a 7-year veteran teaching third grade at West Wing. She stated, teaching ABCs, we did change it. Okay. Teaching ABCs and 1, 2, 3s comes naturally, but teaching how to be compassionate, engaged humans is my greatest contribution. These are the lessons that matter most. And next we have Sarah Crabtree, who brings 19 years of teaching experience to Highland Lakes, teaching 7th and 8th grade ELS, Humanities, and Renaissance. She stated, what really matters to me is that my students trust me to guide them, that they become confident and develop resilience, and that they are well prepared, becoming successful lifelong learners. And next we have John Denton. John brings 12 years of experience to West Wing, teaching general music and choir. When I think about my contributions to education, he stated, I believe that furthering a tradition of a sense of play in my classroom is my proudest accomplishment. And next we have Jenny Frankham. Okay, Jenny is a 10-year teaching veteran who now resides at Diamond Canyon teaching kindergarten. Ms. Frankham stated, my greatest educational accomplishments have been building relationships with students, parents, and colleagues while fostering a lifelong love of learning in my students. Next, we have Nick Helmick. Nick is an 11th year teacher now teaching 5th grade math at Inspiration Mountain. He stated, teaching is more than just a profession for me. It is my passion and purpose. I strive every day to create an environment where students feel valued, encouraged, and empowered to achieve their best. Next, we have Mallory Hudson. She is a 10-year veteran teacher residing at Canyon Springs STEM Academy, teaching 5th grade ELA. She stated, I strive every day to create and encourage a love of learning in my own students. One of my greatest accomplishments has been creating meaningful classroom communities. And next, we have Claudia Molina. Claudia parks herself each day at Union Park School, teaching K-8 Spanish. She stated, "My beliefs about teaching are deeply rooted in the idea that every student is unique and that education is about more than simply transmitting your content area. It's about building an environment where students feel valued, understood, and motivated to reach their full potential." Next, we have Jennifer Okenwa. She has spent 5 years in the district and teaches second grade at Inspiration Mountain. She stated, "What sets me apart is the drive to be my best self for all students. On their journey, I am determined to make as much of a difference and positive impact in order to help them succeed." And next, we honor Annalise Ramos. Annalise has taught 6 years and currently resides at Copper Creek, teaching developmental pre-K. She stated, "Teaching children is both a gift and an honor. I want to be a memorable teacher who makes students feel safe, confident, and excited to learn." Next is Maggie Thomas. Maggie spends her time at Sierra Verde teaching 4th grade math. She has been in the district for 8 years. She stated, "My approach is defined by my commitment to being a team player, focusing on the well-being of my students and fostering an environment of learning and growth." And this year we have 2 rookies to honor. Our first rookie is Dawson Caldwell. He has started his teaching career at Canyon Springs, teaching 5th and 6th grade math and science. He said, "My first year was filled with rewarding experiences, but what I enjoyed most was building meaningful connections with my students. Those relationships reminded me of the positive impact a teacher can have on a greater community." And our second rookie is Austin Lucero Storlid, who teaches, did I get my slide changed? There. 7th and 8th grade math at Desert Mountain School. Austin stated, "What I enjoyed most was seeing the students' growth both academically and personally. These moments reminded me why I became a teacher, to help students discover their potential and realize their strengths." And now we have all of our beautiful teachers, and we're going to give them a thunderous round of applause. And now it is my pleasure. We'll do it after the NCT. Answer everybody. Okay, we've got a few more people to be honored. And now it is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Paula De Marteau from the district to introduce our National Board certified teachers. Then we'll have a big, huge group picture after.
All right, thank you. Congratulations to our teachers and rookies of the year. We're going to get together in just a minute, like Ms. Myers said, for a group picture. But first, we have 6 newly certified and recertified National Board teachers to recognize as well. And, oops, sorry, wrong way. Our first one is Molly Britton. Molly Britton exemplifies the essence of a reflective educator. Her commitment to continuously evaluating her instructional decisions and understanding her students' needs has led to a more intentional, responsive, and effective teaching practice. Next, we have Debbie Carey. Debbie Carey is receiving her Maintenance of Certification from Inspiration Mountain. Debbie Carey renewed her National Board recertification as a reaffirmation of her deep commitment to student growth. Her ongoing reflection ensures that every learner is challenged and finds joy in the learning process. Congratulations, Debbie Carey. Next, we have Lisa Hancock from New River Elementary. Lisa is a lifelong learner who embraced the national board journey to become a more effective classroom leader. She's passionate about helping students uncover their own discoveries and experience the empowerment of teaching themselves. Congratulations, Lisa Hancock. Next, we have Deborah Johnson from Mountain Ridge High School. Deborah sought national board certification to become the best teacher possible for her students. Through this rigorous process, she embraced the core propositions, deepened her reflection, and found the courage to innovate, empowering her students to take charge of their learning. Congratulations, Deborah. Next, we have Justin Price from Paseo Hills. Justin pursued national board certification as a way to measure his impact in the classroom. Through this journey, he reaffirmed his dedication to meaningful student learning and educational excellence. Congratulations, Justin. Next, we have Heather Walsh from Union Park. Heather views maintaining her national board certification as a continued journey of reflection and growth. Her commitment to evolving her practices ensures a lasting impact on her students' academic and future success. Congratulations, Heather. Okay, so let's give all of our nationally board certified and recertified teachers a big round of applause. And we're going to have all the teachers of the year and all of our nationally board certified teachers come together for pictures, and then we have a giveaway. All right, don't leave yet because let's give them a round of applause, and then we have a drawing. So very exciting. Every time we have our celebration for Teachers of the Year, Rookies of the Year, and National Board, the Deer Valley Educational Foundation, in conjunction with Getaway today, gives away a $500 gift certificate. And so we're going to pull from one of our Teachers of the Year, Rookies of the Year, or National Board teachers so that they can get away. I think Dr. Finch. All right. It is Dawson Caldwell from Canyon Springs. Yay! Come on up, Dawson. Dawson's probably back here. Come on up, Dawson. All right, Dawson, you're going to go over to Miss Brennan over there. And Dawson, we're going to get your picture right here. This is kind of a big deal. Give Dawson a round of applause. All right, congratulations, everyone. Have a great night. Is that it? That's it? I think we're done. Yep, we're done. Huh? Our board meeting will start at 7 p.m. Thank you.
I'd like to welcome everybody out tonight. I'd like to call tonight's special meeting of the Deer Valley Governing Board to order for tonight's public hearing. Let the roll call show all board members are present. Do I have a motion to adopt tonight's agenda?
So moved.
And a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item 2A, public hearing for the fiscal year. I'm sorry, you do need votes. Technology. She's working on it. Thank you, Mrs. Taylor. Item 2A, public hearing for fiscal year 24-25 expenditure budget revision. Mr. Miglerino?
President Carver, members of the board, Dr. Finch, this evening we will have a public hearing regarding the final revision for fiscal year 25, our current fiscal year. And this really is the true up of our budget. Good to see so many people show up for the public hearing today for the budget. I know that's not the case, so I will be brief because of other pressing matters on the agenda later. As we had indicated in the paperwork that we've shared with you, it is truly a true up. Just as a reminder, we do get our funding based on current year student counts. So we have to estimate what those are when we adopt the budget. We now have a better idea of what those numbers are. It's not completely definitive because we're based on the 100th day, which was back in January, but there are still some calculations that happen throughout the remainder of the school year. So it's not definitive yet, but much more known than it was when we adopted the budget back in July. So a little true up on the general education average daily membership, or what we call Group A count. All the special need areas in Group B, the Group A count, about $170,000 increase. The Group B count, about a $784,000 increase. We had a $1.2 million reduction in the carry forward. So what we projected was less than what we actually realized. A slight adjustment to the Prop 123 allocation based on the adjustments to the student counts in the state. And then some one-time supplemental funding of $1.3 million. The net change is $1 million to the good, a positive $1 million that we have included into our M&O budget. Also worth noting is we did transfer exactly $2 million more into M&O from the capital allocation that we receive, or what's known as district additional assistance. The purpose of that is to be able to try and carry forward as much M&O dollars as possible into next year. As we have previously discussed, the reduction of our M&O override will have a financial impact to us. So just trying to preserve as much of the resources available for next year. And then finally, just a shout out to our friends at the Arizona Association of School Business Officials. They did a class last week and were able to share with us that there was an opportunity to recapture some Classroom Site Fund dollars, and so we took advantage of that as well in this revision. That basically took our M&O budget on the state forms that were also presented to you to $283 million with those adjustments. I'd be happy to answer any questions the board might have, but it is a public hearing. We do have to give the opportunity for the public to make a comment during this. The decision will be made later in the regular meeting as to the board's formal determination of the budget for FY25.
Thank you, Mr. Miglerino. We'd like to open the floor up for public comment. If there's anybody in the room that would like to speak specifically about the fiscal year 24-25 expenditure budget revision, please approach the microphone. Is there anyone? Going 3 times? Okay, thank you for your participation. Anybody from the board for Mr. Miglerino at this time? Seeing none, Mr. Miglerino, we thank you for your time tonight and for the information that's been shared. Do I have a motion to adjourn the public hearing? And a second? Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Make sure you change your login into the regular. We'd like to call tonight's regularly scheduled meeting of the Deer Valley Governing Order at 7:05. Let the roll call show all board members are present. Dr. Z, would you be so kind as to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence? Thank you. You may be seated. Do I have a motion to adopt tonight's agenda?
So moved.
And a second. Thank you, Ms. Simch.
She has a whole thing.
If there's no objection, Dr. Pack has an amendment to tonight's agenda.
I move that the governing board adopt the agenda with the exception of moving consent agenda item 6B and item 8 consideration.
Is there a second? Second. All those in favor of the amended motion?
Aye.
Aye.
I did. I clicked. It says change vote. Yeah, I had it too.
Thank you, Mrs. Taylor. First up on tonight's agenda, item 3A, Dr. Pack.
I move that the governing board accept administration's recommendation for the principal of Constitution Elementary School.
Is there a second?
Second.
Dr. Janet Gilbert.
Dr. Z.
Thank you, President Carver, members of the board, Dr. Finch, and the community. It is certainly administration's pleasure this evening to recommend Dr. Janet Gilbert as the next principal of Constitution. Dr. Gilbert has a long track record of success in the Deer Valley School District, and we know that she will continue the great work that Principal Millsaps and staff have done and will be a great principal at Constitution. Thank you.
Is there any discussion from tonight's board? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, Dr. Gilbert. Welcome back. Would you like to say a few words to your adoring fans?
Thank you. I am just very honored and very pleased to be serving as the next principal at Constitution. The community over there is wonderful. I've enjoyed my time this year spending time working with this staff over there. So I'm looking forward to this opportunity, and thank you, board, for making that happen.
Thank you. Next up, item 3B, Dr. Pack.
I move that the governing board accept administration's recommendation for the principal of Gavilan Peak, Kelly Zivchek.
Dr. Z.
President Carver, members of the board, Dr. Finch, and community. Again, it is our pleasure to bring forth Miss Kelly Zivchek as our recommendation for the next principal at Gavilan Peak. Kelly has numerous years of head principal experience. Also, she has had previous experience of immersion programs, and we are confident, again, that she will continue the great work that Principal Elms and the rest of the Gavilan Peak staff have done over the years. Thank you.
Any further discussion from the board? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. Welcome on board. Would you like to say a few words?
First of all, thank you for this opportunity. I am honored, and I am so excited to get to know all the staff, students, and families at Gavilan Peak.
Thank you. Item 3C, Dr. Pack.
I move that the governing board accept administration's recommendation for the principal of Park Meadows Elementary School, Pam V. Hill.
Second.
Dr. Z.
President Carver, members of the board, Dr. Finch, as I have said twice, I'll say 3 times, we are very pleased to bring our recommendation to you tonight, Pam Bihil, as the next principal at Park Meadows. Pam, too, has years of experience as a head principal, and that experience is composed of much continuous improvement that she has done at her schools in the past. So again, we are confident that she will continue the great work that Principal Lanise and the staff at Park Meadows have done. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Z. Any discussion from the board? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Welcome to the district, Ms. V. Hill. Would you like to share a few words with the community?
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm really excited to serve the Deer Valley School District and to serve the community and the School of Park Meadows. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. V. Hill. Next on the agenda, item 3D. Dr. Pack?
I move that the governing board accept administration's recommendation for the principal of Barry Goldwater High School, Weiser.
Dr. Z.
Thank you, President Carver, members of the board, Dr. Finch. Our last principal that we bring forward to you tonight is Sharon Weiser. Sharon, like Dr. Gilbert, has a extensive track record of success in the Deer Valley system. She has been an administrator at multiple schools in the Deer Valley system, and we know that she will bring her confidence and enthusiasm to Barry Goldwater. She will continue the great work that Dr. Steltz and the other Goldwater staff have done over the years. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Z. Any discussion from the board? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Welcome, Sharon. Would you like to share a few words?
Governing Board President, Mr. Carver, Dr. Finch, and Governing Board members, thank you for the opportunity and the confidence that you have shown. I'm truly honored to serve in the new role and to help move and continue forward the important work already happening at Barry Goldwater High School. It's a privilege to follow Anita, whose leadership and impact have been both meaningful and lasting. I'm committed to leading with heart, showing up every day with energy, purpose, and determination, and working in full partnership with our student, staff, and families to keep moving the Bulldogs forward. I am grateful for your support, and I am excited for the journey ahead. Thank you.
And did you have a poem for us tonight? No? Did you have a poem for us tonight, you said?
Eventually, yes.
Eventually,
I can bring
okay, just
another
checking.
poem.
We're going to take a brief recess to allow those of you that have come help to join the celebration, join our new principals out in the foyer for celebration and pictures. If everybody else could just maintain your position, we'll get back started here in a second. swam in. Welcome back to your regularly scheduled program. We get to item 4A, Mr. Miglerino.
President Carver, members of the board, Dr. Finch, this evening we bring forth the April financial reports to share with the board. I will just highlight the M&O report briefly. Not much has changed in terms of our M&O projection. Last month we had about $2.1 million in projected carry forward. We are projecting about $2.1 million in April as well. I will say that this does not include the information that would is yet to be determined later in this agenda on the budget revision, so that will add money to that. We are targeting at least $6 million worth of carry forward to be able to balance next year's budget, something that we'll go over in greater detail at the May 20th study session. And I'd be happy to answer any questions the board might have regarding the financial reports.
Any questions for Mr. Miglerino? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 5A, old business. Dr. Peck?
I move that the governing board accept the administration's recommendation to approve the tax credit and fee authorization for 2025-26.
Mr. Miglerino, anything? I'm sorry, we need a second on that. Thank you, Ms. Simichek. Mr. Miglerino, anything to offer different from what we've already been presented with?
President Carver, members of the board, Dr. Finch, the only correction which we made orally when we previewed this 2 weeks ago is or 3 weeks ago, pardon me now, is the correction to the marching band fee. I think originally I made the comment it was $200 per season. It is corrected to the $100 per season as we indicated at that meeting. That was the only change from the when this was previewed at the last meeting.
Thank you, sir. Any discussion from Mr. Miglerino?
Are we using tax credit? I mean, are they allowed to use, or is this in addition to a tax credit potential donation?
President Carver and Ms. Fisher, it would most of these fees would be allowable to be used for tax credits because they're allowable under the statute.
Okay.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Item 5B, Dr. Pack.
I move that the governing board approve revision to the governing board meeting dates for regular scheduled meetings for 2025-2026.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Bodfield. Dr. Finch.
This is moving our July 8th, I believe, to the 14th or 15th, because I'll be attending AASA as the Arizona representative to the National Superintendent Association. And our budget we're trying to get done prior to the Mr. Miglerino, and I think Ms. Roswell is going to. So we have two folks that are heading out. We'd like to close out the books by July 1, so it won't impact the meeting. There's no cost to the district.
Thank you, sir. Any discussion for Dr. Finch? Hearing none, all those in favor? I'm sorry.
I just wanted to.
Yes, please.
Although I'm perfectly fine with the meeting there, I will say that I will not be in the country at that particular day. I'm taking my daughter to Italy for graduation, so I apologize. I won't be there.
I may not either.
So maybe we can.
So noted. Thank you, Ms. Simichak. Thank you, Mrs. Fisher. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Now for the weeds of tonight. Dr. Pack, item 5C, please.
I move that the governing board review and discuss to recommend political agenda items for the district's ASBA delegate to represent the board's determined position.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, so for the community, if you pull up the agenda and want to have an idea of what we're discussing, the ASBA, Arizona School Board Association, sends out their platform, if you will, of what they will be lobbying for or possibly against down at the Capitol. They reach out to all of their member districts and ask us to review their extensive two-page list of the items that have been pre-approved in previous years, see which items we might agree on as a district and whether or not we would seek to add any. And in the past, Deer Valley has been successful in adding to the platform, and the item from last year is still there regarding harassment and bullying. There was some movement in the legislature this last time around, but it's still on the platform. So what we have now is our worksheet, and for the school board members, you all have a copy. What Mrs. Taylor has done is on page 1, item 1-2, that received the greatest cumulative positive responses from the board. So there were more folks on the board that wanted this particular item than any other. And same with page 3, item 4-1, that had the second most in common. Now, we were tasked with coming up with 5 or 6 items that we could find on there that we might agree with and or come up with any of our own. As you all can see, we have 4 pages. I would contend that any of the board's suggestions are worth the delegate noting when they get there to vote. The way that this works for the new folks on the board and for those at home that are listening is there is a delegate assembly in September where the voting delegates, which this current year is Dr. Pack, will represent the district in a closed meeting of all the voting delegates, and they will go through this 2-page report line by line, and they will vote and discuss. It's a long day. But we give our delegate the ones that we are interested in so that we make sure to vote the appropriate way, whether it's yea or nay. Generally, everything on this list is something that we are positive about. And the asterisk ones, we're in a unique situation in Deer Valley because if they're not on the 2-page report by the time we get to September, then the delegate can propose them from the floor if they're written in advance and all this other kind of fun stuff. However, I've been asked to serve on the legislative committee, and last time that's how we got the one in and part of the entire 2-page bunch last time. So what I want from the board, and if somebody has any heartburn over it, please let me know, but what I want us to do is discuss as a board the ones that are in asterisk on each page, as those are the ones that were thought of as an original thought. No. Oh, okay, sorry, my mistake. The ones on the very last page are the 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 that board members came up as original ideas. So what I propose to the board, and like I said, unless somebody has heartburn with it, is that we discuss these 7 so that we can decide if we want Dr. Pack to move forward with trying to make sure that these go someplace at the delegate assembly, instead of draining each and every one of these, because obviously there is a board member on this dais that wants some portion of the previous 4 pages. Can we all agree that it would be best just to discuss these last 7?
Well, part of the concern I have with this is I look at this document, and this is virtually the same thing that has been there since 2014 when I was first elected. I served on the committee 2 years. Miss O'Brien served on the committee 2 years. You've served on it a year. I believe Miss Ordway served on it. And we seem to not get anywhere. And there are some things that are definitely damaging. Like anything with desegregation, it is very important that we are not supporting anything with desegregation. And the reason being is there's very limited school districts that have desegregation funds. And there is literally not a single district in the entire state that remains under a desegregation order. So what that means is if desegregation were to pass, if it were to go back the way it was, it spreads an additional cost to taxpayers everywhere in the state. The way it is currently, okay, so the example would be Phoenix Union has over $56 million in desegregation funds. Those desegregation funds fall on the taxpayers of Phoenix Union. If what's proposed passes, those would then fall on everybody. So our taxpayers would be paying for Phoenix Union, things like that. But the more we look at the political climate, my concern is that we just work on remove anything that's partisan. Any topic item that is partisan from either direction, because it just, everybody screams there's no place for politics in schools, and then one of our major things is that we put politics in. So I think we should focus on, if it's a political activity that's not direct impact positive on our kids, it should be gone. The ones where, and I do agree with some of the ones that are starred, because like the aggregate expenditure limit, that's something we hit every year, it's a wall. We have current year funding, which hits, if you've ever had to budget, current year funding is like, I don't know what word that would not be a bad word that you could say to express how bad current year funding is. So that's the type of thing that I just think we should focus on. And if it's something that's been there for the last 10 years, maybe isn't a priority because it's gone nowhere in over 10 years. The bullying one has been a massive concern, and we've lost students for that. That would be something. I would just like to see us specifically focus on kids. Nothing else, just kids, because that's what we're supposed to be doing.
So, Mrs. Fisher, what I would ask is we can either point out specific ones that we want to say no to, or we can decide as a board that we are comfortable and confident in giving that direction to our delegate and giving her the responsibility that she's been delegated with when she gets here to make those decisions.
Wouldn't that go to you first?
Well, I mean, I'm
You're gonna be on the committee.
I'm on the committee, and I'm more than happy to. I did it last time, and it's fun.
It is fun. And if
I was
the
being
other board
facetious, but it's because
No, I actually did find it fun. If other board members want to go, Ms. O'Brien and I sat at the same time. We don't always agree, but we picked the things that we could agree on that were specifically good for kids.
no, it's and
For us, one of the big things was having the age, which I don't know why that's not passing. It never has, but maybe drop that and put in the bullying. We have a star here, but that protect the rural and remote school districts, and I get that's a kind thing to do. It's a right thing to do, but it's not really. We need to focus on our kids, on what would be important for our children here in Deer Valley, especially because as a school district, we don't get things like desegregation. We have less title funds. We have, so when there is a funding concern, And people will say, well, that's a rich district. The reality is, okay, so maybe the population is, but what we get in is not. And so we need to really focus on, instead of being focused on a rural district, we need to be focused on what would impact our district, because we don't have the ability or the advantage of all the things that take us above that base level funding.
No, yeah, we had a little bit of a discussion about that at the last meeting. For those of you that might remember, just that 2-page document. The fact of the matter is, the member districts in ASBA, and you know this as well as I do, are heavily rural districts, impoverished districts, districts that benefit greatly from a lot of those programs that are in there. And whereas, like you mentioned, it feels good to go ahead and support those kind of things, but that's not relevant to DVUSD, and so. I can tell the board that as long as I'm on that legislative committee, I'm happy to carry that water. I guess I'm just trying to figure out if we're looking to go. We can have that overarching direction to our delegate and to myself for being on the committee, but I do want us to, with that overarching rule out there for us to follow, we do need to decide what we're going to do with these other 7. That were not on the document, and if there's specific ones that we want to discuss on the other 4 pages that we want to make sure that we voice a negative on, whether it's at the delegate assembly and or inside the committee, happy to do that.
I do want to touch really quickly on the rural, protecting rural and remote school districts. That was my suggestion, and I come at this with a background in trying to support children in all environments, rural, urban, and to me it is important. And at some point, I kind of think of New River in a sense of as a rural school district. So I obviously we can have that for discussion, but my thought on that was that when we're in this room and we're in the delegate, which I was last year, and we're having conversations and we're trying to vote and agree with people, we have to come together in that room that represents all of our school districts. And so when that gets brought up, like if it were me, I would, I support those districts that need those services. And when it comes down to it, at the end of the day in voting, that's what I would vote for. So that was me, but that's just my thought.
And that goes back to just building on that conversation. That goes back to the folks that we pick as a representative from the board, right? And then the direction that we want to give them. So I know that we all have our conscience, and at the end of the day, everything is for the kids. But there's a funky caveat with public education, in that it's everybody's tax dollars, and it's supposed to help all children. What does that look like without helping one to to an unfair advantage over others? Sorry, a little tongue tied there. What's the best utilization of our resources? Like I've got something out there that's not going to be very popular in the room, and I'm not sure exactly where it is in here, but we're all concerned about how much money is spent on administrations. Do we all know how many school districts we have that have? Maybe there's an idea of saving some money there if we started making more unified school districts, elementary schools and then high school districts side by side, covering the same territory. That'll get me a lot of hate mail, but it's the truth, right? Because we're supposed to be stewards of the public dollar. So what does that look like, and what's best for the children? And we can't drill down. Not too long ago, there was a big talk about busting up big districts like Deer Valley. To what useful end? We already get hammered about how much money we spend on administration, spending some of the least amount in the state. So what would that look like if we made 4 districts out of Deer Valley? So those are the kind of things that are difficult to answer. If you put your political hat on, things might be easier for some people to rationalize, but when we just look at it from taking care of the kids. But in order to deal with this tonight, so that we can give everybody the direction that we need and get ASBA the answers that they need in a timely fashion, I'm hoping that we can decide what portion of all this we want to report on, so that Ms. Taylor can put everything together and Dr. Pack and I can wrap our heads around it. So again, I guess I would say if there are specific things in the first 4 pages that we don't want, let's have that. Otherwise, let's discuss the 7 topics on the last sheet, as those are original thoughts between some of the 5 board members that are up here. Would that be acceptable now that we've talked about it a little bit? Ms. Simichek's nodding her head yes. Mrs. Fisher, would that be good? Yeah, okay. Mr. Botfield? Yeah. Dr. Pack, would you be okay with that?
That would be fine.
Okay. So we're just going to take it one at a time, starting with the top. If that's okay with everybody, we'll have a discussion, and then we'll just do thumbs up, thumbs down as to whether or not we're going to keep it. And if it stays on the list, Mrs. Taylor will make that note, and if it gets kicked off the list, she'll make that note as well. Sound fair? So 8.1, in keeping with the higher standard commitments, in keeping with the higher standards, communities have a right to expect all school board candidates and members should be subject to drug screening and background checks administered and managed by the AZDE. Last page, sorry. We're only going to discuss the last page. My mistake.
Okay.
There's a few of them to talk about there, but so that is 8.1. So that is proposing that we would add to that platform that school board members should probably be the example to the community, pass drug and background checks. It's not listed there. I'll go ahead and accept the responsibility for putting that one out there, but in background checks, we expect all of our volunteers and teachers and anybody working on campus to get fingerprint cards and go through volunteer training. Yet as board members, we just kind of go traipsing around like Godzilla through some of these campuses. And I think that it would be the right example if we set the right example. And so that's where I kind of came at with this.
I have no issue with background checks and fingerprinting and having the full fingerprint clearance card, as we ask that of our teachers. When parents volunteer, they don't have to have a full set of fingerprint clearance unless they're trip. So if they're just going on campus to assist, they actually don't need that. But I'm all for board members having that background check. I don't necessarily think that the drug screening is necessary. I'm not sure, because to me that could get very vague.
Expensive
And like what is on there, what is not, I'm not really sure. We don't require that of our principals and our teachers and all of that, so I'm not really sure why we would have that as a board member, but I fully support fingerprinting and background checks 100%.
Well, I think the question I would have would probably be for Ms. Simichek. I thought I saw something going through the legislature or the Senate with that exact topic. I know I've always carried a fingerprint clearance card. Any teacher that's ever served up here has. Those of us who do have a certification, we all have that.
I do.
You
Yes.
still have yours too?
Yes,
Yeah.
I do.
So, I mean, that is probably good for everybody to have. As far as drug screening, it does get extremely expensive, because I know we drug screen every employee that we hire, and sometimes multiple. If there's an accident, if there's anything that happens, we drug screen them again. We do it at my work. And I know it gets really, really expensive, so I don't know that that's necessary, because even if we say it's Department of Ed, it will fall on us. And so that would be a cost. But I do think, in fact, I said it years ago, that every board member should have a fingerprint clearance card of some sort. Even if they don't have to get the higher level one, at least a minimum criminal check.
Okay. Mr. Botfield, thoughts? No? Dr. Pack?
Well, since the majority of the people on this board have a fingerprint clearance card, and previous board members have had fingerprint clearance cards, I don't know if that would be necessary. You could have it, if you have it, produce it, and if you don't have it, go get it. As far as incurring additional expenses for drug testing, that seems, when we're trying to watch every dollar. I mean, have we had a problem with anybody on the board being high? I mean,
Well, the problem is if you have a medication, it like when you drug screen employees, they also list all of the medications they take, because your blood pressure pill can come up as something. If you have ADHD, you're technically on meth, or if you're that's the way that the screening comes across, and then you have to do retests, and it becomes a real hairy mess for that part. But the rest, I think, is good.
I think to your point, though, if that was an issue that we were experiencing here on the board, that might be something we would want to address, but I really don't believe
I think there's a little tongue-in-cheek when I put it together, because I know sometimes after board meetings, regardless of the district, people are on social media saying, is that person high? So that was just me and my dry sense of humor. So it sounds like the board would be in agreement with this item if we took out the drug screening and maybe added fingerprinting, background check to include fingerprinting. Right?
Yes.
The problem with that
Yeah.
is what are you going to do if X, Y, or Z comes back? The voters are the final.
Right,
So it would
so-
have to be legislative.
She's right here.
Actually, at that point, it would be Attorney General, because there is, when you're looking to be a board member, like, okay, board member, I got elected.
Yeah, you
They
don't
do
go
my
to the
fingerprint
le-
clearance card, and they find that I have molested a child 10 years ago or wherever, the Attorney General will throw me off the board. They will remove me. And they, just 4 years ago, they removed someone up in Navajo country because he wasn't a registered voter
Right.
off the community. So the Attorney General of whatever county is can, well, the state Attorney General can at that point remove them.
It might deter
It's written in there.
somebody because
It
this
might
would be in the
deter
school
'em and-
candidate.
That's a very good point. It could, I agree
Deter
with
somebody
that,
from
yeah.
applying, but
These things, if actually done by the ASBA, would go through the legislature,
Legislature.
because this is the political agenda for the ASBA. So we are asking for them to take things to Ms. Simichek's desk for her review. So
I would tell you that probably the response to a bill that would be presented that way is that we tried to bring it back to local control.
Well,
As
to
a
that
school
point,
board.
I was just going to mention to this board that we've decided that we're happy to put this on the platform with that strike and that ad. But as a board, we could choose to add to our policies and put that in there so that anybody that gets elected to the Deer Valley School Board will have to. So, I mean, all for that. No sense in asking everybody else to do it if we're not going to lead by example. So,
I suggested that years ago. I think that's an awesome idea.
okay, let's put that on the horizon. Ms. Taylor, if you'll make a note someplace over there on your scratch pad, we need to work on a policy to try to incorporate this. Yeah, we're gonna add it to the political platform for the ASBA, and we're gonna look at adopting our policy accordingly. If there's no objections, we'll move on to 8.2.
Is that the one you thought was what people would not approve?
Well, there will be people, and I'm sure you can imagine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I'm asking is because the first portion of that statement already exists in a different one. Unless they removed it because it was there years ago, we put that one in.
I didn't see it. Was there one concerning duplicate districts? I thought I
the
read.
reduce unnecessary administrative costs is in one of them.
Oh, okay.
Has it been removed or? Oh, okay. So we can put it back.
Okay.
As far as the duplicate districts, the only way you're going to have any success in even trying to put that forward, because we already tried to unify in 2000. Mr. Mugarino, help me out. 2008. Is that when the big unification attempt was? 2007. I still have the documents.
President Carver, Ms. Fisher, I don't remember the year. It was in that era. Yes.
Because what we found was the problem that hit is you could modify it to say within a metropolitan area or within a city limits or something of that. Preface it with something like that, because where you run into problems is like the example of Red Mesa. Red Mesa is in a corner of a reservation. Not only do they have their students, but they have students from New Mexico, or when you go down to Ajo, you have the ones coming up from Mexico. And so there's a lot of things where to unify would cause serious problems. Plus you end up with districts like, unification is good when you start looking at like Wilson, who has a total of 600 students, or some that are even smaller. And they could be pulled in, but then what is that burden of the distance from where they are here to there? The one that's just north of us, it's a district. It's literally one building, one school, about 40 students.
Like Kenyon.
But nobody wants to pull them into their district because then they have the transportation costs of getting to that and bringing it back. And now what the state is funding for those students is prohibitive to transport them.
So
So I would.
if we
I think
add
half
in
the
non-rural areas,
non-rural areas.
Yep. So we'll, if there's no objection to that one, we'll add at the end of that in non-rural areas. Ms. Simichak, thoughts? Yep. Mr. Botfield? No problem? Dr. Pack? Acceptable? Steeler? Okay. So 8.3, teachers are the most valuable resource for academic achievement. This sounds like a something that would be presented in a resolution. I'm not sure how to adopt that to the political platform. Can whoever suggested that give us some background so maybe we can add to it?
So I suggested that after attending the Arizona Department of Education School Board School. I actually lifted it right off their documents. They also listed soft skills, but I didn't want to clutter it up too much. But just recognizing that with all the great supports above the teacher, it comes down to the teacher is the number one.
So do you want legislation that's
Just to make sure that we are supporting teachers. We're always think, what is best for the students? What is best for the teachers helping those students? And however that looks in legislation, reduce paperwork, give them more training, just having it in writing that the most important asset is teachers. Without students, we won't be here. Without great teachers teaching those students, everything else is for naught. So however you put that in legislation.
Seems to me like there's something in the agenda already that talks about
academic outcomes, maybe focusing at, with 5 kind of goes down.
So Mrs. Taylor's telling Dr. Pack that it's very similar to 3.5. Support policy that recognizes, respects, and promotes teaching as a profession.
Okay.
You can maybe do it that way, because if we do it the other way, it sounds like it's going over parent rights.
Right.
And
Well,
then
and-
that becomes a big fight, and they all lose.
And this one's already well established inside the document, so it'll be less of an uphill battle to try to reintroduce. I can tell you after sitting on the committee, they'll just end up pushing it into this one because it's the same thing, just worded differently.
Okay, so push it into this and update this, polish this one up.
I think we can strike it, and Dr. Pack and I can massage it when we're in committee.
Because they're going to change it anyways.
Okay.
The committee has it's a U table of 30 board members, and they're all going to yell at each other, and then they're going to be happy, and then they're going to yell again, and it
Yes.
changes 5 times. It's just the way it happens.
So 8.4, attain at least 1 year of academic growth annually in math, reading, and writing. Would the owner of this one like to expand on it a little bit?
That'd be me, same training. We talked about how important growth is, not just what level they're at, but the growth. And so making that in print, because I didn't see anything specific about measuring growth. I mean, we can have our goals, but if it's not measurable, and again, getting back to why we are in education, reading, writing, and arithmetic.
I think they are measurable. I mean,
Well, we don't have
The growth.
anything mandated. We don't have mandated growth by the legislature. So,
But the problem is, how do you mandate growth?
Right.
yeah, I mean,
Unless you tie it
our
to money.
state is built up of so many different kinds of communities, and I just think that that's, who learn in a variety of ways.
The problem with this is that no matter how you look at it, it doesn't work.
Well, I want to point out too that, as I serve at the legislature, a lot of stuff is coming to us that should really remain under one, local control, or it should be brought through the Department of Education or the Arizona Department of Education. And we're finding a lot of this stuff is getting pushed into the legislature, and it's really hard on our teachers because they don't want to have all of this. We just 2 seconds ago talked about not having our teachers do so much paperwork, but then now we're saying, well, now we want them to have academic growth and proof of that. I mean, we in Deer Valley have a plan for how we monitor those students through different types of testing. So, but what's happening is these bills that come through that are supposedly helping public education are not doing that at all, number one. And number two, they are just creating more and more work for our teachers that they just simply do not have time for. And like I said, going back, we have those measurements in place. So when I look at this as a potential bill, I can tell you the first thing that I'm going to get is a lot of emails from teachers saying, why on earth is this even being brought up here? So that's just my personal experience. I've had it happen multiple times this year, and it's just another thing to add to our teachers. And I feel like if we're talking about Deer Valley in itself, we have that in place. I can't reiterate that enough. So that's my 2 cents.
Well, if you do push something like this forward, and as far as a legislative bill, it ends up becoming an unfunded mandate. So when you mandate something like this, it becomes an unfunded. Where we already have this is in our teacher performance, because and we talked about this extensively years ago, because let's say you're a teacher who's with a highly performing class, you're going to get your growth no problem. But if you're teaching a special education class where that student's growth isn't going to even hit a registry, but for that student, it's amazing. So how do you say what growth is? This student maybe didn't grow the way this one did, but his growth is so much in who he is, and is such an improvement. That teacher deserves like 10 awards for even getting that tiny bit of growth, because no one thought that student would ever grow. So that's where we put it in our performance pay, and I think, Dr. Z, isn't it in our performance matrix already? The growth aspect of it? I think it is.
And it's in the superintendent goals as well.
So I think it's
throughout
already
the
there.
system.
I agree with everything you said. I do not want more work for teachers. Just reading the original document, it just has a current one. Policy area, improve outcomes for all students. Outcomes, just maybe focusing on academic outcomes.
We could do that. That might not be bad.
Okay.
Just add
Three,
academic.
it's the yellow 3I, all the threes. The title, policy area, improve outcomes for all students.
6.
1, 2. Oh, that's not it. Which one? 3. 3 what? Oh, it's the header. Yeah. So she would, and we can do that. We can change the header, but because we'll talk about that in the committee, so we can change it to improve academic outcomes for all students. I would ask.
Us adding a 3 dash something to that list.
Yeah, what they would do is apply the word academic to everything in 3 and see if words need to be massaged to make it more applicable.
Which leads me to the question of 310, and probably because I'm the newbie, support legislation and access to funding that would allow school districts to offer school meals. Oh, I'm sorry, not that one. The housing to teachers. I didn't understand that one.
So
Oh, that's someone. Never mind. I'll ask that question.
there
later.
is a housing piece
options.
that you probably read, and there are districts that offer housing to teachers.
Okay.
More in the distant rural communities such as the Indian reservations and whatnot, because build teachers. I don't believe that is something that needs to be legislated or mandated, like we all just talked about. Money's a hard thing to come by.
It's the matter of whether it's allowable.
Well,
Right
and
now,
it,
in a rural district, it is allowable. So if you go to Red Mesa, your school is here. You have a housing development that surrounds it. Your superintendent's house is here. Then you have your residence houses around.
Yep.
Because the nearest house could be 75 miles across, the open desert. So some of the rurals have it. Where they don't have that is within districts like ours or in cities.
I would just question why that's not under the rural section, why it's under the improve outcomes.
Because other districts want it to be, they want it to be allowed for them to do
Currently
it too.
in statute, it says
They're
rural.
trying to get get them a house and a spouse, they'll stay. Problem is that the house and a spouse and they'll stay just really isn't occurring anymore.
Okay.
No, it hasn't in many years.
So Dr. Pack, I would ask if I assume 8.4, 8.5, and 8.6 are yours also?
Yep.
We discussed 8.4, so 8.5 and 8.6 on the last page. If they don't also fall under category 3.
Correct. Those are all mine. 8, 4, 8, 5, 8, 6.
So with that being said, that leaves 8.7. Does anybody want to?
That one I put on it because it's one of those things that I just don't want to fight. This should not be a fight. Just if it's not allowed, if it's partisan to one side or the other, or if it's DEI just because it's already the big topic, just don't support it, or just stay quiet, or just say let's just take it off the agenda. The problem being is when I first came in contact with ASBA was when I first went to work for a school district, and back then ASBA actually was a nonpartisan group. They actually worked towards improvements for kids, and they started it was a really awesome organization. The trainings were awesome. Everything was awesome. There was not the continuous fighting with everybody. Sometime around 2016 is when a lot of things that started coming in that a lot of people found to be either not just political, they were political, but sometimes they were against the morals or ethics of the people who were in the districts or were even being elected. And it became a fight, and that's why we're seeing a lot of districts that are leaving ASBA, leaving the policy, and it's becoming more of a partisan fight. And whether anybody likes ASBA or not, if this board said right now, hey, we're going to rip you guys out of ASBA, you're not going to be an ASBA anymore. Now all of a sudden, everybody in this district is going to have to scramble to figure out where the heck our policies are going to go. Are they going to go to the coalition? Are they going to go to the trust? Are they going to go? And it is, that large of a policy manual is huge. It's a lot easier to fix ASBA and make it a nonpartisan group again that actually works with everybody than to rip all these districts out and leave them with potentially not having policies. Because what happens is when we get a lawsuit, we got served with something today, I don't even know what it is, but when that lawyer looks at this, they're going to say, what was your policy? If we don't have a policy in place that addressed that issue, we're wrong. If we have a policy that we didn't follow, we're wrong. That's the importance of those policies. So I just think it's easier to fix ASBA by removing the partisan and controversial stuff and supporting just the stuff that's good for students. And that also includes teachers, funding.
I think with the new executive director of the ASBA, I mean...
Do you have your mic on, Ms. Simchek?
What?
Do you have your mic on?
Sorry. I think with the new executive director of the ASBA, I don't see, I can see some of maybe your concerns actually changing a little bit. I don't think if anything is going to become really political, it's going to be based off of the background of the executive director, but that's my personal opinion, and I don't see it going in the direction. I can see a lot of people leaving ASBA because of the direction that I think eventually it will go, and that's simply because of who is running the organization now and what their ultimate agenda is. But that's just my personal opinion. I think they've done a great job, but I have my own concerns about them. They might be different than yours with ASBA. And we have, yeah, I'm just going to leave it at that. Yeah, that's good.
So,
I actually no. I want to. Actually,
yeah.
I'm not done.
So I think this board can agree that we need to try to keep partisan politics out of the decision-making process as much as possible. Would that be correct, Ms. Simchek?
Yes, but I do want to talk about A7 and this whole DEI thing to me, and partisan items, whatever that means. I mean, how are we supposed to teach our children about government and how the government even is run by not addressing that there is a, different political groups, and this is how it works? And to go through, we'd have to go through all of our curriculum and then just completely dice it up and decide. And who's to decide this? Who's to decide that, this is a partisan topic in education? And DEI is just being fully blown out of proportion. What we do, what we try to do, what our teachers do is to create learning environments where all of our students can grow and thrive and be treated equally. And, equity doesn't look like an inclusion. It looks like there's a beautiful cartoon that has 3 kiddos looking over the fence, and they're all looking at the same height. But below, on the other side of the fence, you can see they're all standing on different little heights of cubes. And it's not about that, if you take that one cube away, the little one won't be able to see over the fence, won't be able to see what all of his peers and friends are seeing. But if you just bring them up each just a little bit, then they all get to see it equally. And to me, that's what diversity, equity, and inclusion is. And to, again, remove something like that, or say we're going to remove something like that out of curriculum, is impossible as far as I'm concerned. Because how can you be a successful teacher if you are not teaching your students how to respect one another, how to be kind, how to support each other? To me, according to that would be DEI. And we have to have the ability to raise a future generation that cares about each other, that is understanding. I get a lot of pushback because people are like, well, you're all just, kumbaya, everything should be good. But you know what? We take that away. We get hate. We get kids fighting with each other. We get situations where teachers are not able to help manage those frustrations of those students because they're not allowed to teach them how to, breathe heavily for a few moments and just take a moment. That's too much. I mean, we have to equip our teachers with these tools so that they can have the tools that they need to be able to regulate every child in their classroom. I taught first grade, and I will tell you, I had so many different little personalities, as I should. They're all individual kids. But when we start saying that, we're going to treat everyone the exact same, even when someone might need a little bit more help and support, we are doing the biggest disservice to our children. And for that, anything that talks about removing DEI, which is just now being thrown on all over the place, I 100%, I just do not support that at all.
Thank you, Ms. Simichek. The thing is that we've got some buzzwords in our society now that have been vilified. And I was explaining to somebody the other day, I used that cartoon that you mentioned as an example, and the word equity, if you can give me a different word out of the thesaurus to replace it with, that's what we do if it makes everybody feel better. That's what we do in education. But the term DEI and the words associated with it have been made to paint a very ugly picture of reverse abuse, if you will, reverse discrimination. And, I don't know how we fix that. I don't know how we legislate that. I don't know how because the deal is that the inappropriate behavior that's now been attached to this is not something that was ever mandated by Washington, by the local authorities, by school districts. It's something that people have just picked up and ran with, and now we need to change the thought process of society in that understanding that, listen, don't get me wrong, if somebody is of a certain ethnic background and they are given extra helps just because they're that different ethnic background, that's not okay. If they receive helps because they need them in order to perform at the same level as everybody, that's okay. right? Because they all have challenges. Some of them are social, some of them are emotional, some of them are academic, and those kids need help. Now, we have labeled that DEI. That's unfortunate. But having been a victim of the extreme portion of it in the business world, I don't support how DEI has been magnified and has destroyed certain lives and certain people. But I do believe that everybody should be given an equal opportunity to succeed, and that's what we do here in Deer Valley. Mrs. Fisher, I guess, yes, Mr. Botfield, sorry.
I want to just make two comments here. First, one of the things that DEI does is it creates civility and respect. And we need that desperately in this country, in this district, in this world. Second, I'm a guy who's been criticized on a variety of levels, including religion, height, and I'm small. What can I tell you? But the bottom line is very simple. I respect and I want respect back.
I think that the problem is we're getting hung up on the word DEI.
Right.
We, as a board, are not going to fix DEI. We are not gonna fix saying that word or changing that word or what it is. We don't get to select the terminology. But anything that's in here that is controversial, my son is autistic, okay? Let's say your son is not. So your son is a top performing kid. So that means this is what parents don't want. I don't want your kid to have to not learn because he can only learn at the level that my autistic son can.
Right.
And that's the problem. That's where people are trying to stop. And I'm sorry, I know I am going to make every special needs parent piss off with what I say right now, because I pushed for my son to have inclusion, but I worked with the teachers so that if he became a disruption or had a problem in his classroom, they sent him out of the classroom to sit on a square. We had consequences, and that partnership was there. You cannot, and forgive me for saying it, you cannot dumb down and as far as remove the curricula to accommodate this one student. But you also can't say that, just because I did it with my son means every parent's going to, because they won't. Right. When my son got to his senior year and was not ready to graduate, I made sure to drop off core classes so he had an extra year. And then I bought 7 years of curriculum, and at 25, he is still finishing high school, even though he technically has his diploma, because it's a requirement for me. He also reads at a productive level. He can quote the Bible. He has all this level, not because I dumbed down his classes for all the kids, because I worked to bring him up. And we're not going to fix that DEI word. But what we can do is remove anything from what we support that causes that. Every kid is not going to get a trophy. They're just not. And being who I am, one of the principals we just hired came from New Mexico. She's Lopez. It's kind of funny. She's Hispanic. Well, so am I. But nobody recognizes it because I look Anglo. I'm white, blue-eyed. But it doesn't change the fact that my grandfather was Antonio Gonzalez, or my mom is Maria Donelia Gonzalez. It does not change that. So when you're going to now say all of a sudden, you have to change everything for all the kids because, well, my kid's Hispanic. That's where that problem comes in, and we just want to remove that. Nobody wants to.
I don't think anybody is
but we
saying
can't
that.
fix that.
I don't think anybody is saying that. As a parent of a child with a strong IEP and knowing the phenomenal special education teachers we have in this district, no one dumbs down curriculum for everyone else. They take my child's curriculum and they bring it to her level so that she can continue to be successful. They don't take all the kids in her class and say, we're all going to learn at this level for this one child. That's not how it's done. She has an IEP.
We do have that problem, though. We do have that. I have had teachers tell me, how can I teach this class when in my class they have pushed in 5 level D students? Is the curriculum there perhaps, but I can't.
I would agree that there's actually a bigger issue.
So there are bigger issues, but all I'm
bigger
saying
issue is that it's not.
We are not, and our just because ours are doesn't mean everyone's are.
100% agree.
I'm just saying that we need to not get stuck to focus on the DEI. If there's something that's in here that falls in that, and it's not going to be us anyways, when they go, this is when those discussions happen. And I can give you an example.
I think the first step in not having it be DEI is to just not use it as a suggestion. DEI. Just get rid of it. Use what you want to describe done as what you want it to be done. Like, don't use the term DEI. Because it's everyone starting to use this term like it's either no DEI or yes DEI, and it creates a wall between two people. It automatically just did that for you and I. But like, we have our teachers, and I agree with you, to have 5D kids in your classroom pushed in and out is extremely challenging. To me, that's a bigger issue. The issue is properly funding education and all of that, but we don't see that happening anytime soon. But, you know, I have to say, for the experience that I have seen through Deer Valley as both being a teacher and a parent, I can tell you that I have had fairly good experiences with that and the teachers implementing and, you know, what my daughter is doing when they get into their classroom. So she's like a combination of mainstream and full-time and with SPED. So there's a variety of things going on, but and you're right, it's not like this for every single parent. I fully understand that.
Well, and we've made a lot of changes. The special education, you know, in my first term, part of the reason I pushed for that SPED study was because we weren't what we are now. We were not.
Yes, I've seen it change over.
And then we had Remus, and that, well, I'm not even going to say what that was. And then we were lucky to get Ms. McCusker, Dr. McCusker. And so changes have occurred, but they didn't occur by us just not speaking about them. When I first got on the board, we did have teachers saying, I'm just going to quit. I can't do this anymore. You're pushing all these kids into my class, and I'm forced to have them in, and I can't teach all the rest of the kids. So it did become a big issue. In some of the rural, and I can speak to this 100%, is real, is in some schools, it's ethnicity, not special education.
But that's also then like saying our English language learners, you know, they shouldn't get extra treatment because they don't speak English, and then we start taking that away.
Well,
like that.
It's not that they shouldn't, but here's the thing: is we need to make sure that we are doing what's right for them, without taking it from the other students, and that's a bigger issue that I think we address in policy. But I know, and it happens not only in our schools, in our families, and it happens. There was a school in Santa Fe behind my father's business that my parents thought, well, that's right there. Let's put her in it. I lasted 1 week in that school because I was being bullied and tortured for being the gringuita. You know who was teasing me the worst? My own 2 cousins. So it happens. But the teachers at the time, they told my mom, there's nothing we can do about it, because if she were a black student, we could do something. If it were white kids picking on a Hispanic kid, we could do something. But there is no law that protects a white kid.
Ladies?
Literally. And so that's where, if there's anything, and that isn't something that we can even dictate, because you guys have to know it when it comes.
Right. So I think what we're gathering out of this conversation is is an idea of the way that this board feels for Dr. Pack and I, but I do want to point out that in the second page of the document, in the purple section, this is the ASBA document. I'm in improve opportunities and outcomes for all students. The second to the last bullet point, support policy that predicts school district employees and students from discrimination, including on the basis of sexual orientation and gender identity. So that speaks to one element. 3.9, okay. And then school safety and security. This is the second to the last tab on the second page.
You're still on purple? You're
No,
on orange.
the school safety and security, sorry. Yeah, the orange tab. The second to the last and the last bullet point, fund programming to engage and support families and caregivers in culturally relevant and appropriate ways. 6.5. And then the last one, develop a more comprehensive harassment bullying definition. That's ours from last year. 6.6. So none of these three say anything about DEI, but they all address the issues that both sides of the conversation are concerned about over here. And if we have something along those lines that we could offer as legislation, then we could entertain that. But otherwise, I think what we've got out of this conversation is
Don't let it get away from you.
for those of us that are paying attention to the conversation, there is a lot of commonality in the conversation that's going on amongst all the board members here with what it is that we would hope school looks like for every student that attends it. So I guess what I'm asking Mrs. Fisher is it acceptable to not leave this as a separate bullet point, but with the understanding of the conversation we've had and with the bullet points that are in here?
Oh, yeah, it wasn't
that address
intended.
it?
It wasn't
Oh,
intended.
okay, you
Yeah,
just
no,
wanted to have
it's
a
in the bullet
conversation.
point.
Okay.
It was literally just all I said to Sheila was just remove anything that was political, and it really is just because I've been in both seats, and I will tell you, when that room starts going, you're gonna have all these things that you agree with, and then you're gonna have somebody that comes out of left field with a wild hair up their tail, and they come up with something, and you just go, okay, that's what is called DEI, or that's what is called whatever, and then just don't support it. Because it happens, there's always one in the room from somewhere, and there's not a specific where.
That was a good conversation tonight, everybody. So what I'm looking for here is, with the conversation that we've had, we're going to run with 8.1 and 8.2 with the changes that we discussed, striking drug screening from 8.1 and adding in non-rural areas, to 8.2. We determined that 8.3, 4, 5, and 6 can be found in other sections, and 8.7 was a conversation topic. Do we agree that we will take this presentation from the board to the delegate assembly and vote appropriately?
So moved.
Second.
I'm sorry,
Well,
one second. .210. Sorry, Mrs. Taylor is pointing out 210 on the partisan part. Oppose any legislation that seeks to make school board elections partisan. That vaguely discusses it. I think what we were looking for was more classroom.
Yeah, that's
your point was classroom, right?
Yeah, that's actually a bill that was presented at the legislature
Right.
this year.
So, okay, we had a motion and a second to accept this with the amendments
I
and
just have
changes.
a question. So
Yes.
as far as 8.7 goes, you had said that it was for a discussion.
Yeah, the discussion that we had is what Mrs. Fisher wanted to have.
Oh, okay, so it's not going to be on there.
No, it's,
No, it's
Okay.
gonna be, they're gonna use their discretion. If
Got
something
it.
wild gets out there, then they're just gonna oppose it.
sorry.
If something good comes, it does. It's just because, as you recall from when you did it,
Yes.
somebody's
We're
gonna
going
bring
to-
something up.
Okay, so 8.1 and 8.2 will be adopted as topics, and then in section 3, we're going to add academic to the header. Those were the changes that we discussed. Okay, we're still in agreement with the motion in a second. All those in favor with what we've put together?
Aye.
Well, yeah, we're just going to give a thumbs up here. So, Mr. Botfeld, and we had the motion in the second over there, Dr. Pack. You good? All right, we're in unanimous consent. Yeah, okay, now we're going to vote. So, Dr. Pack, you've already read, and we've already received a motion in a second. So,
It's just call for the.
Yep. Called for the vote. It should be on your screen.
Aye.
Well, that was clear as mud. Appreciate everybody's patience on that. Thank you. Item 6, consent agenda. Dr. Peck.
I move that the governing board approve consent agenda items 6A through 6J with exception of 6B and H, which was pulled for separate consideration during adoption of agenda.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? I'm sorry, Ms. Taylor, educate me again. The items that were taken off consent, do we address those now? Okay. Dr. Pack, 6B.
Yes, and boy.
Yes.
I move that the governing board accept the administration's recommendation to approve the human resource changes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, I just wanted to ask and better understand in this process. As a board member, we get to hear all the great principal candidates. We get to see their resumes. We get to hear recommendations from the superintendent and the great cabinet that's done a lot of hard work to select principals to run our schools. I'm not sure when the last time we voted in a new cabinet member, and since Mr. Migliorino has big shoes that we have to fill, I'm just kind of at a loss why we didn't follow the same process, even if it's not a policy, just for good optics, that the board could meet the new person for that HR position, for that deputy superintendent of Mr. Migliorino's job, why we wouldn't get to meet, hear the recommendations, look at the resume, and feel confident in the recommendation.
I have the same question because it has always been our protocol. Director and above, we have always had that meeting. And part of the reason that it was helpful, I was concerned, and I did send forward a question, that same question. And the reason being, my reason, number one, because that is a large position to fill. I personally believe the individual is probably the best candidate we're going to get. I do believe she's a little inexperienced, but virtually everybody in the industry right now is a little bit inexperienced for that position. My concern was that while I know her and worked with her, other individuals on this board did not. And I also had constituents calling and going, well, why isn't that one being done that way? Which gives the air that somehow something shady's going on. Whether it is or not doesn't matter, that it's the optics of that it creates. And I don't understand why we did not do that this time. I'm actually more concerned about the next position, more so than this one. But it is concerning why we did not follow the protocol that we have used for the last 2 decades.
Finch, would you like that?
Sure. No one in the state does this. We've been checking. None of our NEVIC partners do this. I checked state statute. I checked ASBA. I checked our governing policies. Board of Education is required by statute to hire one person, interview one person, that's me. I'm required to hire, interview all the other employees per state statute. So there's no policy on it in Deer Valley. There's no policy or procedure or protocol written down anywhere. That was introduced a couple years ago, a couple board terms ago. And so I think part of the problem that we have as a board, and we've been accused of it before, is getting into the day-to-day management, not staying in our lanes. I checked with all the other superintendents in NEVIC. None of them have their boards involved in hiring as well. And so I think that it confuses the board what their role is. And so, as you know, Heather, in particular, the one that's on there, has been in our district for 19 years as a financial gal. And so I thought, the more I investigated it, I realized that we were doing it incorrectly. So I figured this is the time to change it. I also agree that you shouldn't be interviewing principals as well. I do believe, though, that we can figure out some kind of a process where you can get to know the people, that we can figure something out that would work. But as far as interviewing directors, assistant soups, principals, that's not your job. That's not your role.
Actually, I'm sorry, but the superintendent cannot hire anybody. They can't even hire a janitor without a vote of the board.
Correct. They
And-
approved the superintendent's recommendation.
They cannot, and I will tell you.
Can you give me any school district in the state of Arizona, actually in this country,
Most of
that
them.
does it that way?
Most of them.
None of them do it.
Most of them meet with, and I will tell you.
Oh, yeah, but not
by this
interview them.
board- By this board interviewing, we saved this district from having a principal that had criminal history. In that meeting,
we probably should have got sued for that, and we would have lost.
Resulted in.
We would have lost that one.
No, we wouldn't have. We're a new hire.
We were definitely
And
out of bounds on
no,
that.
And this board also has saved the rest. We, the board of 5, are responsible for all hiring and termination.
Not interviewing. No one in the state, no one in the country does it this way.
Alternatively, then we could just vote no on everybody because we
could.
don't,
Well, what you do is you fire your superintendent and find somebody that hires better people. That's the whole, that's how it's set up.
No, the problem is not having any oversight for the superintendent results in corruption.
Well, the good news
And
is we don't have that
corruption.
here, so you're good there.
We do.
Where's the corruption?
Multiple levels. We can start looking.
I only need is one. I don't need 100.
Well, let's talk about the principals. Which ones have resigned recently?
Dr.
That's
Peck,
not-
Retiring
stay on
could be
top.
all
Dr. Peck
kinds
has a
of reasons.
question. If
Yeah,
we could let
it's going
Dr.
off.
somebody else. Thank you, Dr. Peck.
Okay, to follow up, I a rule follower. I stay in my lanes. I enjoy being part of the principal process. It just gives you that much more confidence that we are going to have great leaders at our schools. So just along that same vein, and to have good optics, if the next person filling Jim's shoes, Mr. Miguel's shoes, was brought in for 10 minutes, it would just be better optics. It would confirm your recommendation. For it to get this whole thing, but I think it would be good practice.
I don't disagree with you. We should be able to figure out a process that will work.
Thank you.
You get a chance to meet all the principals in particular. I also agree the principal is the kind of the face of each school, and so I do believe also that we have to figure out some way to introduce you to those folks. But as far as interviewing them, that kind of stuff, that's my job. That's my team's job. And that's per state statute and governing board policy.
Could you please provide us the statute, because there's not a state statute that says you hire them.
I can
and
get
we
you.
do
I'll
not.
have that all in the Friday update for you.
Yeah, no, don't put it in the Friday update. Put it in a public document.
I can do that too.
Because you refuse to give the Friday update.
You can actually look it up for yourself. Just
I did.
just Google
Arizona
it.
15341 requires
Look
that
'em up.
we, the Board of Education, hire all individuals.
Correct. I'm not saying that's not true.
Right.
It doesn't say anything about interviewing.
It is also our responsibility to look, and when we find, and we have, someone who is unqualified or inappropriately qualified,
You can always bring that up.
to bring that. The problem is you want to hide it in a consent agenda or hide it in something. That's where we end up with buddies being hired, with questionable individuals being hired. And while that is not Heather, that has happened. And that
Not since I've been here.
And this process is how, yes, it has happened since you've been here.
No.
Yes, Mr. Carver.
I've
brought
been
one
a
forward.
superintendent for 26 years. I had
Mr.
no
Carver brought
one
one
better.
forward that we did not hire, and it was a really good thing for us that we did not hire them.
I'd have to disagree.
I was just asking for the same process as we do with principals, not interviewing,
We'll
just
do
the
what
last.
we'll do what the rest of the state
blessing.
does in the future. Well, I'd like to finish the cycle for this year, and then we'll work on a new process to so the board can engage with directors or assistant soups or people that you want to meet, and like the principals. But yeah, I think the lanes are getting fuzzy, and I want to set it up for the next superintendent, whoever that may be someday. That this is actually how the state statute and the school board policy and ASBA recommendations. You talk to any attorney anywhere, they will say board does not get involved with the interviewing of staff members. Because where do you draw the line? Do you go down to the bus driver? You go down to the crossing guard? Where do you draw the line? Well, this one's important, this one's not. That's really my job. That's my team's job is.
Just to clarify, not interviewing, just hearing your recommendation.
Correct.
Is our
You might be able to do
responsibility. Director and above has always been our actually, every employee is our responsibility, because not a single employee can be hired without the vote of the board.
Correct.
That's the way it has always been, because
It is in
it is
statute.
actually written in law. It is our duty.
Correct.
We are the Board of Education. It's a board of 5, not a board of 6. And we have a responsibility, especially when it starts looking at a financial position. We have a responsibility to ensure that whoever we're hiring does have the qualifications for the job.
Yep, and that's my job.
And no, that is our job.
No, that's my
Because
job.
we have to vote. You can argue all you want. You can be disrespectful all
Bring
you
me
want.
state statute,
Those things.
bring me governing board policy.
341. You can read. Look
That's,
at it. It is there. It is our job.
I have an idea. I will ask for an attorney's opinion. Denise Lilbritt. She
Your
can give us
attorney
a.
that
That I
has
pay?
already. Yeah,
Okay,
you pay.
everybody,
pay on the side?
She's already
I
given
think
false information.
we're-
She's given one information and then a second.
All right,
to the
I can get
public, so-
3 attorneys then.
All right, everyone, I think what the problem is, well, I know what the problem is, but the fact of the matter remains is that the board approves hiring folks by voting on the HR changes. That's what the administration is saying. And what I also hear the administration saying is the interview process is not given in ARS, but we can choose to vote no on the hiring changes, which indeed does not allow the person to be hired. That is our technical statute responsibility, is to hire, not interview, is what I hear. So I understand that this is a deviation from the way that it's been done. And yes, to Mrs. Fisher's point, there was somebody that was discovered by the board that we didn't think would have went the DVUSD way and been an addition to the team the way that we would hope, which was contrary to the administration. But I do believe that by the letter of the statute, we have the opportunity to vote no on hiring changes if we disagree with the candidates brought forward. And I'll be honest with everybody, as I told Dr. Finch when we had this conversation, is that, you know what, if you're going to, at the end of the day, you're responsible for everybody you hire. If they mess up and really buy the farm, you own it. So if you're going to put your stamp of approval on somebody and you didn't do your due diligence, at the end of the day, you're going to be the one that takes the clobbering over the head about it through the interview process. And hopefully board members will do their due diligence when they see the names pop up, as we all did with this one, and still continue to do our research so that we can bring our concerns to the administration.
So that's the question then. If the district refuses to give us information, how are we to make an educated or reasonable?
Yeah, we'll figure out a process.
I happen to know Heather. I happen to know Heather.
We can design a
So
process
that's
that
different.
everybody can be happy.
But if it was someone I didn't know, and we don't know if they have anything.
Mhm.
That's why the board has to be informed, and it is in statute that it is our job to get informed and to be able to get that information.
True.
The whole point of that interview is that we have that information.
There's
And-
no one in the state that does that. Not one.
Yes, there is.
Not one district.
I've seen multiple. So.
Not in our NEVIC. And again, that's not the board's lane, but we will find a
It is the
process that
board's
you will
lane.
like, that we'll find something that'll work. I'll work with President Carver and we'll find out a way to make sure you get good information.
That's the other problem. You have a board of 5, not a board of 1. And the problem is you have done everything in your power to undermine the governing board that is elected by the community. And that's problematic. You know, we have been elected to do a job, and you have done your best to undermine the board's ability to even do the job.
Can I just add one thing? When I went to the Arizona Department of Education, this came up, and we did a little table talk. They did teacher best practices where you turn and talk, and we did post-it notes and the whole thing. And so there were about half the room did what we did, where we get to be part of the process, hearing the last final recommendation, and they didn't. And it was a lively conversation in that room as well. But I'm just saying, if we had a process in place where the board wouldn't be, kind of feels like in the dark. I don't know this person. I'm sure if you recommend her, I'm sure she's great. But if it's different than the way we've done it for the principals, I feel like it's kind of bad optics, because now I don't know anything about her. And like, it puts in the absence of information, misinformation abounds. I always say that if you don't put information out there, then people think, oh, you're trying to sneak something past us. I don't think that, but I don't have anything to look at.
We can put it in the Friday updates, the same things that you see at the.
Because I mean, there's one little blurb from Ms. Moffett in the Friday update.
In Friday
but
updates,
there was nothing. I couldn't see where she worked and all the great feathers in her cap.
We'll figure out a process that'll work.
That'll
keep us all in our proper lanes.
And the truth of it, just one last statement here, and then we need to take a vote here. The truth of the matter is, the one cabinet person that we did have an issue with, the information that we discovered was well before an interview ever took place. The person's name was made available through normal district communications, and research was done by board members on the individual so that we could be educated about her, and came up with certain information that we took exception with. So nothing's changing about that process. The person's information is still available in the Friday update so that we can do our own investigation as to what's going on with that. But Dr. Finch says he'll figure something out to try to bridge the gap. I mean, there's something else in the background, at least with this specific situation concerning finance right now, and that's timing. We don't have a lot of time to continue processes because we have a budget that we're trying to get done before the current folks leave. And so even if this was just a one-off, the administration is trying to do what they can to run this district in the most effective manner, by utilizing the experience that we have in the room to finish our current budget and bring the new folks in while they're still there so that we can make a warm handoff. If we do this the way that it's been done for the last few years, or how many ever years, that puts that in jeopardy, and we might end up going through a stronger learning curve, which could potentially be more detrimental. In this particular situation, this individual that's coming back, everybody, well, not everybody, but most of the folks in the room, save at least two, have some experience with her, and I don't. Yeah. So, anyway, unless there's something new to discuss, let's go ahead and vote if everybody's okay with that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
I'd like to explain my vote. Because there is something strange, and I'm really not sure what. I've never seen this done in this. I'm going to vote no, because there are too many names on there to really know exactly what's going on, because this is strange. The refusal to answer the question ahead of time, the refusal to provide information, the refusal to actually address a very basic question and a basic concern just leads me to believe that there's something that I'm not aware of, and I cannot vote in good conscience when I am not aware of what's going on. So my vote is nay.
I will vote yes, but I would like to see her resume just so I can feel like I know who the person is, because I'm the person in the room that doesn't know who she is. I trust your recommendation. I trust the cabinet doing their homework, but it feels funny that I can't see who it is before I say yay, nay, like we've have on the other great principles.
Is that something the administration can facilitate, Dr. Finch? Make
Yeah, sure.
resumes available?
We'll include them in the Friday updates from here going forward.
Okay, thank you. I believe you have another consent item that was pulled. I'm sorry, do you have all your votes? Ms. Taylor? 6H.
H, 6. H, and I. Here's I.
Do you want me to read it?
Multiple year IFB.
How about, I move that the governing board accept the administration's recommendation to give the
Approval.
The additional
Multiple
multi-year
year IFB. Invitation for bid. Thank you. And RFP. Request for proposal contract renewals for fiscal year 2024-25.
Second.
Mr. Miglorino, do you have any information? Mr. Miglorino, do you have any information?
Actually, it's a simple question. Based on, I guess, what you've provided in here, it's multi-year. Normally I wouldn't question if it was one that was ending right now, because I know that sometimes they go up and we bump them a little because things have changed throughout the year. But this, it says that the contract actually goes through 2026. And we went from $750,000 to $990,000. So is that for the duration of the contract? Is that just this year that we're going up? Is it going to be an additional $999 next year? Why the big jump? And what is the term of that jump? So we know what we're voting on.
President Carver, Ms. Fisher, the $990,000 is anticipated for this year, and it's a multiple award to various vendors. So it's not to just one vendor for outsourced transportation needs that we cannot provide. And the duration is, because it's a 5-year, in this particular case, a 5-year award, there is one more year left on that. So we would anticipate, all things being equal, that we would spend about $1 million next year on all of those contracted services.
Okay. Now, why would it come? And I understand that some of it's estimates, but that's a really big jump. Are we adding like student activities in that approval, and then it's paid from a different funding source, or is that specific to M&O?
It would, I'm sorry, President Carver, Ms. Fisher, it would include all funds with the exception of student activities. And that increases largely due to the spring season is the most expensive season for us to transport due to the extracurricular activities that happen at the end of the, in the spring sports and at the end of the school year, field trips and whatnot.
Okay, so next year we can expect another $1 million, just shy of.
Yes. Again, all things being equal, I think it would be north of $1 million would be my estimate.
I needed to understand why the big jump, what was the reason for it, and then because it's what one of my constituents had asked about.
And again, I think the approval for $700,000 in the previous year, it only increasing $50,000 was a little bit
Anomaly.
Ambitious on our part, thinking that we were only going to see a $50,000 increase. There is escalation in that, as well as increased activity as well.
Now, is that due to like fuel prices or something like that? So potentially it could adjust down or up depending on the economy. I mean,
President Carver, Ms. Fisher, yes, could be a combination of a number of things. Could be the cost of doing the business, but it also could be the frequency of the activity.
Okay, so but it's contractual obligation to the $9 million. It's not going to adjust based on fuel price.
Yes, and we do put a little bit of headroom in that, so we might, be able to spend $950,000, just so that we're not bringing back, multiple requests to the governing board. This late in the year, I think that we'll probably be able to say that the $990,000. Now, I shouldn't verbalize this because I'll be wrong, but we should be able to project with a little more certainty this late in the school year. but it would probably be less than $990,000. We put a little bit of headroom in there just because of some uncertainty. So we're not bringing this
So
back.
reasonably, we should expect that it comes back at the 9 for next year, so that we can actually plan for it. Reasonable expectation.
I would say that if it was $900,000 this year, it would be $1 million next year, just due to price escalations in the contract.
So just so that we know what we're looking for. That's all I had. That was the only reason I had the question. That's it.
Thank you, Mrs. Fisher. Any further discussion from Mr. Miglorino on this item? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Item 7A, Dr. Pack.
I move that the governing board approve all employee professional development out of state per governing board policy GCCE.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Item 7B, Dr. Pack.
I move that the governing board accept the administration's recommendation to pre-approve the addenda as presented.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just need to look at something real quick. Hopefully I'm not missing any, but I don't see any 850, so I'm good.
Okay. Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Item 7C, Dr. Pack.
I move that the governing board accept the administration's recommendation to adopt the revision to the fiscal year 2024-25 expenditure budget.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Miglorino, anything additional to add?
President Carver, members of the board, Dr. Finch, we'd like to go through the budget page by page. No, I'm just kidding.
We'll float your boat, Mr. Miglorino.
Nothing more to report than what was shared in the public hearing. So, but I'd be happy to answer any questions that they might have.
Any questions for Mr. Miglorino on this item? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Item 7D, Dr. Pack. As in Delta.
I move that the governing board accept the administration's recommendation to approve the amount of $4,755 per FTE as the FY 2024-25 classroom site fund performance pay, individual amount to be paid to qualifying certified employees and other professional staff in 2 installments.
I'm sorry, is there a second? Thank you. Mr. Miglorino, anything to add?
President Carver, members of the board, Dr. Finch, just very quickly, back in April a year ago, the board approved the Classroom Site Fund plan. It had the 60-40 split, so 60% of the Classroom Site Fund to be paid in base salary, 40% to be paid in the performance pay amount. And we do wait till this point in time to be able to determine the actual amount for the performance pay based on how many people do. Just a quick shout out to Dr. Smith, who does this calculation for us. This $4,755 is what we are asking the board to approve for the performance pay for our Classroom Site Fund eligible employees. It will be paid in 2 installments, one in June and then one in the fall once the letter grades are determined by the Department of Education.
Thank you, Mr. Miglorino. Any discussion on this item from Mr. Miglorino?
Just a question. That's the one that was the 20 hours to 10 hours?
President Carver, Dr. Pack, that's the performance pay plan, but that's for next year. This is the performance pay amount that be paid for this year. So the plan did change for next year. So this year it was 20 years of service.
Thank you.
20 years, 20 hours. It feels like 20 years.
Mrs. Fisher?
Oh, I'm just laughing.
No, I thought you had something.
For 20 years.
Are you good then?
Yeah, no, I'm
Okay.
good.
All right.
Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Item 7E, Dr. Pack. E as in Edward.
I move that the governing board accepts the administration's recommendation to approve the attached rates of pay schedule for 2025-2026.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Ms. Moffett, anything to add?
President Carver, no additional comments.
Any questions or discussion from Ms. Moffett on this item?
I do actually. Is this our summer rates? Is this what because we approve that every year?
Ms. Fisher, no, this is the rates of pay for the upcoming year. So many of the formulas that drive these rates come out of our negotiated agreements. I provided in the update on Friday that the only difference from the last pay schedule to this one is the fact that we removed the specialized rate for substitutes with the loss of ESSER funding.
Okay. I'm just double checking because I want to make sure it is, especially as we start to adjust. I just want to make sure that we're not doing anything that's going to put us back to that scatter plot where we have new employees jumping over our current staff. I have heard that's already occurred somewhat, and I wanted to look at the scatter plot. So just if Mr. Miccarino can leave that for Heather, please. If not, we can have Mr. Gregoire come back and, that won't be fun, but, because I just want to make sure we're not jumping our employees.
And thank you for asking my previous questions on this. Just for the community's benefit, there are 10 VIP retiree substitutes, which I learned, so thank you for educating me.
Any further discussion from Ms. Moffett? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Item 7F, Dr. Pack.
I move that the governing board accept the administration's recommendation to approve the fiscal year 2025-26 employee hiring schedules.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Ms. Moffett, anything further to add?
President Carver, no additional comments, just that the board has already determined through the approval of what our salary would be for the upcoming year. So after the board makes that decision, we revise our salary schedules and present them back to you for formal approval.
Thank you for the clarification. Any discussion from Ms. Moffett?
Same situation, yes.
Okay. Hearing nothing further, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Item 7H, Dr. Pack. I'm sorry. Oh, 7G, sorry. Someone got ahead of myself.
I was looking at G.
Yep. Let's do 7G instead. Let's do that
All right.
one.
I move that the governing board approve recommendation for FY26 lunch meal price increase.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Mignorino, anything to add?
President Carver, members of the board, Dr. Finch, I did want to recognize Director Chiarello is in the audience. And she helped put together the information that we've shared with the board. The last time we did a meal price increase was back in 2020, so it's been some time. And prior to that was 2 years before that. Because of price increases for both food as well as the labor costs, many of our employees that work in our food nutrition department are impacted by the minimum wage increases that have that we've been subject to over the recent years. We have come to the point where we do need to make an adjustment. We have provided comparable data, thanks to Ms. Chiarello, of our surrounding districts, and you'll see that in some cases, even with the proposed 15% increase that we have before you for the increase on most of the meals for our elementary students and 25 cents for most of the high school meals, in some cases will be below some of our comparable districts, and in some cases will be above. But for the most part, it puts us right in the mix with what the meal prices are on average of the combined amounts. But we'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any discussion from Mr. Mignorino on this item?
I have a question.
Ms. Semichek.
Does it also change the price for our kiddos that are receiving reduced lunches?
No, it would not change the, I'm sorry, President Carver, Ms. Simicek, it would not change the price for the reduced meal price. And obviously, the students that are free would still remain free.
Yeah, but I just didn't know if they were tacking a 25 cents onto the reduced lunches.
So we're just gonna make sure that they subsidize the increase, not our kid.
I'm sorry, if that was a question, I could not hear.
We're gonna make sure the government subsidizes, not the kid, correct? I guess that's what we're saying.
How is
The
that?
price will
How
go
is
up,
that?
so the feds are gonna pay for it, not the kid,
Oh, correct.
For now.
for now. Okay. And I just, because they're here, just a comment. I just think it's really important that we make an effort to encourage some of our kiddos to apply for free and reduced lunches. And the reason I say that is because we do have a large special education population, and by having them apply, a special education student isn't necessarily bound by the same financial. And so it's better that we get them applying. And I didn't know that until my son was and it's also better for us to get them involved more with DVV, long-term for the child, but it also helps to bring a financial support. So I just want to comment that if we could maybe have a campaign for that or something. That's it.
Any further discussion from Mr. Miglorino on this item? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Now, item 7H, Dr. Pack.
I move to approve professional travel for superintendent to attend the School Superintendents Association AASA conference. I'm sorry. I move that the governing board approve the professional travel for superintendent to attend the AASA conference and governing board meeting in Washington, D.C.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion for Dr. Finch?
Yeah, I would like, take one and then go and pass it down. I would like to know why this is even on the agenda. Because per statute, this is not considered professional travel, and it is prohibited in law. So I just handed down for you on this, and we do apply this to our teachers as well. It is an actual prohibition in 15504. Now he can go, of course, like when you take vacation, we don't approve where he goes. It's his vacation. He does whatever he wants. The law actually, like one of our teachers, if they are going to go to an ASA, something as a representative, the law requires that they take vacation to do so. And it does not, because I looked to see if maybe it had an exception for a superintendent. It does not. So he is serving as the representative for the association, and per law it requires that he take vacation to attend. So I was confused as to why it was even on the agenda. We would not approve his vacation. I mean, we approve his vacation, but we wouldn't approve his travel because he'd have to sign for the time.
Anytime the superintendent leaves the state, it has to be approved by the board.
But we don't, like when you go to Alaska, your vacation, that kind of stuff.
Oh, no, I have to let, on my vacation, it's different. I have to let the board president know when I leave the state. And if I'm representing Deer Valley, the Arizona, or the association, it has to have approval from the board before I can register.
But you're not, and I guess that's.
I am representing Deer Valley, Arizona, and ASA.
But you're representing ASA as a board member of ASA.
And Deer Valley and Arizona.
It's I didn't write the law. It's an exception in law, and we apply it to all of our teachers. If they go to an ASA as a representative, we require they take vacation or paid time off.
I've been doing this for 26 years, and I've never heard of that. I'm reading that.
Okay.
Yeah, we can get an opinion from our attorney if you'd like.
Well, we can We can just send an email to the Auditor General.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Because
We
they'll
can
let
do
you
that too.
know that it is
Okay.
required in law.
No,
And so, I mean,
You're misinterpreting it.
I'm not misinterpreting it. We applied it to our employees all the time.
Yeah.
Do we not, Janet? Does, if our teachers go to a ASA conference, are they required to take vacation, or do we pay for their time while they're on an ASA?
Our cabinet goes to
State
ASA every year.
President Carver, Ms. Fisher, I think broadly to answer your question, if the district does not approve of the trip, but they want to take the trip or even go to the conference, then they would take their personal time. If the district does support it and endorses it, and then it does come to you for that approval.
Well, if it's a regular event, yes. But if it is like when Ms. Fisher does, like let's say Ms. Fisher goes, because she's a representative for ASA, it's ASA that pays her way, not the district. It's the same thing. And it is a requirement, so we can send it to the Auditor General. But I do believe he must take vacation.
Any further discussion for Dr. Finch? Dr. Finch, do you have anything further to add?
No. I think I made the point that if I'm representing Deer Valley, Arizona, and ASA, and I'm going out of state, I need board approval.
There was an offer from Dr. Finch to get a legal opinion on it. Does anyone else on the board, or does anyone on the board want him to go through that process?
Just a clarification, you said it will not cost the district money to send you there, and looking at it 2 days. So if we're arguing over 2 vacation days versus not 2 vacation days, it's 2. Okay.
The arrival is the day before and the day after, so it's 4 days. It's a day to get there, because they have pre-conference stuff as well. So yes, it is. The official days are the 8th through the 10th. And actually what we do is we're lobbying for Arizona, we're lobbying for Deer Valley, and we're lobbying for the association. I did this in Michigan for 8 years. I was Michigan's representative, and my school board in Michigan also had to approve it as well, and they gave me authorization because I had to leave the state.
I mean, you can approve that he's leaving the state, but I just want to know that I want some assurance that he will be taking vacation days per the law.
Okay, we can get an attorney's opinion.
I would like to request that we don't get an attorney's opinion, simply because that's the big waste of taxpayer dollars, and I am in full support of approving this. I think this is kind of silly.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm not opposed to him going, but as long as I'm on vacation, the Auditor General will determine whether it's a
Fair
issue.
enough. Thank you, Ms. Fisher. Thank you, Ms. Taylor. On to 8A, preview item, Dr. Galligan.
President Carver, members of the board, Dr. Finch. Tonight I'm here to share with you, along with Colleen McNamara, our social studies curriculum specialist, an important update to our most recent 5th grade social studies adoption, which was completed in February of 2023. This update is a continuation of our district's K-12 social studies initiative. Students succeed when state standards, curriculum, and instruction work together. State-adopted standards guide what students should know and be able to do by year's end. Locally adopted curriculum provides the tools to teach these standards, while teachers apply instructional strategies tailored to their students' needs, ensuring each learner has a path to mastery. Curriculum guides crafted by our district teacher teams and curriculum specialists serve as a roadmap for teaching social studies with board-adopted resources. Each guide outlines a year-long pacing plan, aligns units to essential standards, and defines learning objectives. Teachers are supported with daily instructional resources, project and assessment ideas, and a range of supplemental materials to enrich student learning. The governing board plays a critical role in ensuring instructional quality by formally approving all courses, textbooks, and learning units, including digital and electronic resources prior to their use in classrooms. Although we completed a full K-12 social studies adoption in 2023, the newly updated 5th grade program from McGraw-Hill was not yet available at that time and therefore could not be considered during the original adoption process. Now, as part of our continued partnership, McGraw-Hill has offered to replace our original 2,614 student editions and 100 teacher editions with the 2025 version at no cost to the district. This updated edition directly addresses several concerns we've identified over the past 2 years, including limited digital functionality, lack of Spanish dual language immersion supports, and content alignment challenges with Arizona-specific standards. One of the most significant challenges has been the absence of a strong, consistent resource for 5th grade dual language immersion students, at Union Park specifically, which has directly impacted their language acquisition and instructional continuity with the other grade levels. This update fully resolves that issue by providing comprehensive Spanish language supports, including ebooks, lesson resources, assessments, and SmartBook options, ensuring quality and access for our DLI learners. The updated program also moves to the more updated online learning platform, improving student and teacher experience and professional development continuity across all of the grade levels. It restructures content from 20 smaller chapters into 9 more comprehensive chapters that better reflect Arizona's storyline and standards, such as consolidating the American Revolution into one chapter and concluding with the Industrial Revolution era. Additionally, it includes enhanced resources, again, like a student inquiry journal and a new inquiry teacher guide in both print and digital formats. This no-cost upgrade strengthens the instructional fit for our classrooms, supports our growing Spanish DLI program, and ensures better alignment and accessibility for both students and teachers. The updated 5th grade social studies resource maintains continuity by retaining approximately 80% of the original text from 2023, with about 20% being newly revised content, as I mentioned in the previous slide. These updates aren't just different, they're better. The changes include clearer alignment to Arizona's 5th grade standards, more focused chapter content, and enhanced instructional tools. The foundational text remains, but it has been streamlined by combining and refining previous chapters, eliminating unnecessary content, and adding structured introductions and conclusions for each unit. Significant improvements include a redesigned teacher edition with stronger instructional strategies, improved lesson plans, and direct alignment with the Arizona standards and storyline. The student edition now features updated visuals, maps, and engaging inquiry-based activities using grade-appropriate primary sources. These replace older "what do you think" prompts, adding depth and relevance to student learning. A new consumable inquiry journal offers differentiated primary source resources for hands-on learning. Because this version includes approximately 20% new content and reflects improvements in instructional quality and alignment to Arizona standards, the committee was reconvened to review the updated materials. After thorough evaluation, the committee is recommending moving forward with the updated 5th grade social studies resource. That still is part of the adopted resource from 2023. To review the updated 5th grade materials, we contacted the original 3rd through 5th grade adoption committee. With many members no longer available, Ms. McNamara invited experienced 5th grade teachers and engaged parents of current 4th and 5th graders to participate. We held an open virtual meeting on March 26th of this year, and posted a recording online to ensure full transparency. The committee reconvened to evaluate the updated 5th grade McGraw-Hill materials, beginning with a process overview and purpose reminder. The team reviewed platform updates, which is new and much better because it aligns with the other grade levels, new chapter structures, and the added inquiry journal. Committee members explored these materials, submitted feedback, and noted highlights and challenges. Public review remained open through yesterday, May 12th. The team reviewed the updated textbook table of contents along with our published pacing guide, Deer Valley's pacing guide, to evaluate alignment. Through this comparison, they confirmed, the committee, that the revised chapter structure closely reflects our existing unit sequence and timelines. The content fits well within our established instructional framework, allowing for smooth integration without the need for significant revisions. To ensure full alignment, Ms. McNamara reviewed every chapter and section of the updated textbook and cross-referenced it with the Arizona State Standards, noting each connection directly on the public 5th grade curriculum guide. During the meeting, participants were shown how to access and review the materials both in print and online, viewing them through the lens of both teacher and student. Though print books will be available, we also emphasize reviewing the digital platform, which enhances accessibility with features like adjustable Lexile levels, read-aloud audio, integrated videos, and Canvas integration tools. The committee recommends transitioning from our current 2021 resource, Discovering Our Past, to the updated 2023 McGraw-Hill Custom Arizona United States Studies Edition. This updated version was developed specifically for Arizona standards, offering a more focused alignment with the storyline our 5th grade students and teachers are expected to have and master, actually. While the original resource did align with standards, it included broad national content that exceeded what is required in Arizona, making the materials bulkier and less targeted. The updated edition is streamlined, it is Arizona specific, and available to us at no cost, providing stronger alignment and more effective instructional tools for our classrooms. The updated McGraw-Hill 5th grade resource offers clear instructional advantages. The textbook has been streamlined, as I mentioned, from 20 to 9 chapters, making planning easier and more with our district pacing guides. It retains much, as I said, 80% of the original content, and now includes chapter introductions, conclusions, and embedded inquiry activities. The newly developed student inquiry journal is directly aligned to our skills-based standards and includes Spanish resources to support our Union Park dual language immersion program. With refreshed lessons and sources, a stronger online platform, and that is the platform that all other grade levels are on, except for this one, and Canvas integration, this update enhances both instruction and student engagement.
As part of the 5th grade social studies resource update, I want to highlight key improvements to the teacher dashboard on the updated learning platform. Teachers can now easily access both the student and teacher versions of the textbook, making it easy to model lessons while referencing their instructional materials. The platform also includes Spanish DLI, or dual language immersion resources, with both student and teacher editions available in Spanish, providing much needed support for our DLI classrooms. There we go. Teachers can now browse instructional materials by topics directly within the online learning platform. This improvement makes it much easier to locate and access lesson components, planning tools, and support materials, streamlining preparation and improving day-to-day usability. With the updated platform, once a teacher selects a specific lesson, all the planning tools and instructional resources for that lesson are organized in one place. This eliminates the need to scroll through an entire chapter, allowing teachers to more efficiently prepare and focus on the exact content they want to teach. From this view, teachers can assign materials directly to students and even adjust the Lexile level for individual learners, making it easier to support a range of reading levels in the classroom. Additionally, many of the materials are editable, so teachers can customize activities or supports based on the needs of. One of the biggest improvements with this update is the ability for teachers to share custom-created materials across teams, whether it's with a partner teacher at the same school or across their multi-school collaborative team. This helps ensure consistency, promotes best practices, and makes it easier to plan together across our system. Sorry. I think it's out of. Yeah. There it is. We'll come back to that one. Okay, to ensure transparency and gather feedback, public notice of the proposed 5th grade social studies update was posted on March 14th, 2025, with materials accessible online and in physical in our boardroom. Outreach included marquees, newsletters, board updates, and direct emails to the 4th and 5th grade teachers as it affects them. The public survey received 21 responses, 7 from district parents, 1 from a community member, and 13 from DVUSD teachers and administrators. The public survey used the same rubric we used in the original 2023 adoption process, just ensuring consistency in our evaluation. The respondents rated the updated materials on a 1 to 5 Likert scale, providing structured feedback from the categories. So, sorry it's a little small. I'm pleased to share the results of their social studies instructional materials evaluation. I just want to highlight how the proposed resources align with the district expectation of content, skills, and instructional rigor. Our evaluation used a detailed rubric based on our priorities and standards alignment, skill integration, and product features. The results overwhelmingly positive. Most categories received 4s and 5s across the board of those 21 reviewers. Participants strongly agreed that the resource effectively integrates social studies skills with literacy, inquiry, collaboration, and problem solving, providing well-rounded instructional experience and supporting our 21st century skills. In text complexity, the materials were rated as appropriately rigorous for 5th grade students, striking the balance between the challenge and accessibility to support our deeper learning. This updated version offers flexible tools that allow teachers to tailor lessons for the variety of learners, including EL, special education, gifted, and advanced students. Participants appreciated that students are not just answering questions, but are prompted to create their own building, reflection, ownership, and critical thinking into the process. The high scores also reflect our teachers' confidence that this resource supports both content and skill development. And so there's another slide, again, just continuing on, so you could see all of the all of the scores. So product features show strong support for the updated social studies material, again scoring 4s and 5s. They reviewed the highlighted portions that the platform is teacher and student friendly, easy to navigate, and rich in resources. The materials support rigorous instruction and assessment, promote inquiry and real-world application through primary sources, and offer a wide range of engaging media types. In summary, across all categories, standards alignment, complexity, accessibility, instructional design, this resource consistently received high marks from the reviewers. This strong feedback validates our direction in moving forward with these materials. In response to the question, is this updated resource better than the current one available to 5th grade? 20 reviewers responded yes, with only 1 indicating it was the same. Likewise, when asked, would you recommend adopting updated, reorganized resource for 5th grade? 20 reviewers said yes, with only 1 marking no.
I would like to emphasize clearly there is no cost to the district for this update. McGraw-Hill will replace all previously ordered student and teacher materials, both print and digital, with the new 2025 edition. They will also provide consumable inquiry journals, digital access at no charge for the next 5 years, with no additional shipping or integration fees. We're not the only district in moving forward with this update. Paradise Valley and Madison School District have already adopted these materials. This move aligns with our district's commitment to a coherent, vertically aligned K-12 social studies program. As I mentioned, 5th grade has just been out of the OLP, the online learning program, and it hadn't been updated. Pending board approval, Implementation will begin early this summer. McGraw-Hill will deliver 2,614 student copies, 100 teacher bundles to the schools in time for the new school year. Curriculum guides will be updated and targeted as necessary for professional development, and that will be offered during the summer and during teacher onboarding at the beginning of the year. As mentioned in the previous slide, pending board approval, implementation of the updated 5th grade social studies resource will begin this summer. We have the preview this evening with an action item on May 27th. From May 28th through the 31st, we'll complete the realignment of our pacing guide and standards, followed by the release of updated curriculum units in June. Materials will be delivered from the warehouse and swapped out during the summer to ensure classrooms are ready for fall of 2025. Professional development will be offered before the school year begins and during new teacher onboarding in July and August, with continued PD opportunities throughout the year to support those new to the grade level or platform. If the updated 5th grade social studies resource is not approved, we will continue using the previously adopted edition, Discovering Our Past, selected during the 2023 K-12 adoption. No changes will be made to the current pacing guides, instructional materials, or the digital platform, which is different than all other grades. Professional development will continue to support these teachers in using the existing resource with no additional updates or enhancements to content alignment, Spanish DLI supports, or digital access features for our students and teachers. McGraw-Hill has a statement of support, and we also have a letter of attestation from them, which is linked to the board docs, and you have a copy in front of you there. I do want to emphasize in both of those documents that McGraw-Hill has been a long-time Deer Valley partner, and the updated materials, just as the other grade levels, fully align with applicable federal and state laws. I want to thank you, as does Colleen and the committee, for your ongoing support of our instructional programs. This update represents more than a textbook. It's an opportunity to equip our students with the skills to think critically, connect with history, and grow as informed citizens with a platform that aligns with the other grade levels. With improved alignment, richer content, and for the first time, comprehensive Spanish language resources to support our growing dual language immersion program at Union Park, this is a meaningful step forward. It ensures that every 5th grade student, regardless of program, receives high quality instruction and the opportunity to engage deeply with social studies. This recommendation will be presented as an action item at the next board meeting on May 27th. I would ask that board members who may have questions, please shoot those over to either Sheila or Dr. Finch prior to the board meeting so that I can address them in a Friday update if necessary. Thank you very much.
Any questions for Dr. Galligan? Mrs. Fisher?
Did we have a committee that reviewed all this?
I apologize. Mr. Carver, Ms. Fisher, would you repeat the question?
Did we have a community committee that reviewed all the curriculum?
I believe in an earlier slide I mentioned the team members that we were able to pull together to look at this update. Colleen, would you just share that? We do have some of the members here tonight.
Yes, President Carver, Mrs. Fisher, we did meet on, I already forgot the date that I wrote on there, but it was right in the end of March. And the names are listed on there. We had a couple of 5th grade teachers, we had a couple of parents, and one of our principals who's also here tonight. In fact, if they want to stand, I appreciate the ones who came tonight. Kind of pointing them out, yes, thank you. And you can also hear our meeting. It's on the webpage too. We recorded the meeting.
Because I did have a couple of community members send me some very concerning slides, and they were from the curriculum. They read more like media hit pieces on the president, things of that nature. I don't know how to answer their, I don't know how to answer their concern. I mean, it was real clear that the curriculum was very specific, biased.
President Carter, Ms. Fisher, I did see one of those, and I addressed it in the last Friday board update. The information on that particular email was about AP. Our fifth grade courses don't deal with current history. It deals with that particular grade level's history. The AP McGraw-Hill was approved in 2023. We are talking about fifth grade and the content that goes along with fifth grade. I understand the concerns that you bring up, but we are really on this update for fifth grade social studies that improves the platform.
How can we get this out to them? Because just putting it in the Friday update, the community can't have the Friday update. They can't see it, they can't read it. We can't even provide it to them. What suggestion do you have that we could put out to the community so that they can be aware what this is, what we're looking at, and answer those concerns? I don't know enough about it to feel comfortable just answering their concerns, but they are valid. So do you have a suggestion on what could we do to assist that so that our community is aware of what exactly is being adopted?
President Carver, Ms. Fisher, I'm sure you went to the social studies website and looked at the resources and the materials that we had up there. If there is a specific question, please always shoot that over to Sheila or Dr. Finch, who will get it to me. And I always reach out to any of the parents or community members who have a concern and work with them and talk them through it. So that would be one of the things I could do. If you want us to put something specific on the website, please also shoot that to Sheila or Dr. Finch, and we will have a conversation and see what we can put there that would address the needs that you are putting up.
I did tell them to go ahead and go onto the site, but I can refer them to send the inquiry into you, and then take it from there.
Thank you.
Because I just can't answer their questions. I can't. Now, if I had a student and that was what we were adopting, and I had a student, okay, I would be with them in having a concern. But because I don't have time to go through, and this is what I did tell them. I understand that the board is elected so that we make good decisions, but I don't think there is a single board member. I mean, I work several jobs, and that doesn't mean everybody does, but I don't think there's a single board member here that has time to read through the entire curriculum. That's where we rely on the community to take a look, show us where your concerns are, and then we can send them forward. They didn't really like that answer. I kind of got my butt handed to me a little bit. But I will ask them to just forward their concerns directly to you, and then if they still have a concern, they can bring it forward.
I appreciate that very much. Fifth grade is the American Revolution to the Industrial Revolution. And as I mentioned earlier, 80% of the content is exactly the same. It's just 20%, and as I mentioned, that was changing from 20 chapters to 9. It was adding an introduction and a conclusion to the units. Those were the main changes. But thank you very much. I would appreciate receiving those emails.
I'll send it, and they can forward their concerns. Thank you.
Dr. Pack.
And since this is a preview item, it'll be coming back. I think when I asked the question, somebody answered and said the textbook is out in the lobby. So we could suggest our community members come see us at the dais and go look at the book in the lobby, because I'm going to go look at the book in the lobby. So that would be, they can put their hands on the book.
President Carver, Dr. Pack, it's also online. Yes. Everyone has complete access to it online on that social studies webpage. Thank you.
Thank you.
This process that we're doing today is unusual because we usually, all updates, it's usually in the motion. And as we know with digital, they can update the textbook materials, etc., as they redo them. So, but we decided to bring this in front of you because obviously social studies can be viewed in a controversial manner. So, but in general, we do curriculum adoptions for 7 years, 5 years, and we frequently get updates. The reason why this one is unique, it's because it was more of an overhaul versus an update. But in general, whenever the board votes on McGraw-Hill for 7 years, we do get updates frequently on the digital platform because they can update them right away without cost to us.
Any further discussion for Dr. Galligan? Seeing none, on to item 9, call to the public. Dr. Peck.
The board invites public comment on the district's business in general and on any agenda item in specific. All speakers must observe the rules of decorum. Speakers must fill out a card listing name, address, and topic and hand it to the board secretary prior to the president calling the meeting to order. Speakers must make their comments in no more than 3 minutes. If necessary, to accommodate all speakers within the 30-minute overall limit, the board president may shorten each speaker's time. Constructive criticism is in order. Rudeness, vulgarity, disruptive conduct, or remarks disrespecting personal dignity are not allowed. Under the Arizona Open Meeting Law, the governing board cannot discuss or act on any items not listed on the agenda. Board members may respond to criticism made by a speaker, ask staff to review a matter, or ask that a matter be put on a future agenda. Will Sue Petrowski, Lauren Genovi, and Angie Walker approach the microphone? Please state your name.
I'm Sue Piotrowski. Good evening, Dr. Finch, members of the board, public, Colleen, Dr. Galligan. I am a 5th grade social studies teacher. I was on the most recent adoption committee. I was not on the original one, but I have been using the McGraw-Hill since the new adoption. I brought up those books. This is the inquiry journal we use currently. It is not limited to just the 5th grade timeline. It is for the original adoption, which meets the U.S. standards for 5th grade social studies. This is the new one. This meets the Arizona specific standards. This is just the inquiry journal, a small part of the adoption. It helps our students ask relevant questions and develop answers based on evidence. This one, too much. This one, just right. This is the adoption update that we're talking about, a very specific piece that as a teacher, I can tell you makes a difference. The updated online platform, since I am a teacher leader at my school, I work in vertical articulation teams. 5th grade works by itself in social studies because our platform is different than everyone else's right now. Being able to plan collaboratively across grades will be very helpful for all of us. It's also much more user-friendly in the planning process. I suggest that we accept this update on behalf of the 5th grade teachers and the district. Thank you.
My name is Lauren Canooney. Good evening, President Carver, members of the board, Dr. Finch. I just wanted to express my strong support for this update to this adoption, as it highly supports Union Park and our Spanish immersion students as they have to toggle back and forth between an English textbook online to get to a Spanish textbook, and that defeats the purpose of Spanish only in those classrooms. So that's very important that we have that. It also allows the teachers within this update to customize their lesson plans and meet the needs of every student, even in Spanish. Thank you.
Trying to decide which mic to use. Can I move this a little bit? Hi, I'm Angie Walker. I am a parent of a fifth grader at Highland Lakes, and I was part of the committee. And I just wanted to share my overall experience with that in less than 3 minutes. First and foremost, I was enlightened with the amount of work that goes into selecting a new curriculum, and really appreciate all the time, work, effort by those that spend the time doing that. I wish more people from our community would take the time and invest in learning about that so that they could be better informed about what their kids are being taught. Secondly, that inquiry journal is large. It's great that it includes a lot of information, but we are in a time where we have information overload at all times. Not just us adults, but even our kids who have their phones in their pockets and backpacks at any time. I think it's important for us to make sure that what we're putting in front of our kids is relevant and the right amount versus too much. Because there's also an unsaid thing that if they're skipping over all these chapters and they're not paying any attention to them, it's sending them a message that it doesn't matter. So why not put the important stuff in front of our kids so that they can reflect back on that, on what they accomplished versus what they didn't even touch. Lastly, as I paged through the content in the inquiry journal and the book, I was amazed at the level of content for the students, both in the detail and the big words that even I had challenged saying with a master's degree. That being said, I was able to engage in discussion with some of the teachers and saw their level of excitement about the new content, the right sizing of the content, and the ability to customize the content for each of the kids. There was talking about DEI, and I don't want to necessarily go so far down that path, but the way that you can customize the Lexile scores makes it inclusive for all of the students, and it makes it better for all of the teachers. So again, just wanted to say thank you in less than 3 minutes for giving me this time, and that I fully support the adoption of the new book. Thank you.
If I can please have Elizabeth Clarkson, Tyler Zeck, Carrie Knutson, and Shay Siegel approach the microphone. Please state your name before speaking.
Hello, board members and Dr. Finch. My name is Elizabeth Clarkson, and I am the graduating student body president at Boulder Creek High School. I'm here to express deep concern and frustration over the recent removal of the student government advisor at our school from her position. This decision appears to be both abrupt and unjustified, and it echoes a troubling pattern within the district of valuable faculty members being dismissed without transparency or clear cause. She's not just an advisor, she is the heart of our student government, and she is someone that I have looked up to for as long as I can remember. I've known her since I was young, and she has always been there for others, no matter how much she has on her plate. Over the past 3 years, I've seen her dedicate herself completely to supporting students, both personally and academically. Her passion for helping others and her unwavering presence at every event, meeting, and initiative have truly shaped the strong and inspiring leadership that we have today. Thanks to her guidance, our student government has achieved remarkable things. We've raised over $10,000 annually for the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and most recently collected more than $7,000 for the Daisy Mountain Firefighters charity through our annual Mr. BC pageant. These are not small accomplishments. They represent months of planning, coordination, and leadership, much of which is only possible through the stability and expertise of the current advisor brings to the role. Removing her now without proper explanation or transitional planning jeopardizes not only our morale, but the future of student leadership in our school. It places an unfair burden on returning members and threatens to unravel years of hard work. We respectfully ask the board to review this decision, provide transparency, and consider the overwhelming support she has from her students. If the goal is to support student development and community engagement, keeping her as our advisor is not just the best choice, it's the right one. Thank you for your time and for listening to the voices of those most impacted by this decision.
Hello, my name is Tyler Zeck. Good evening, governing board members, Superintendent Dr. Finch, district staff, and fellow attendees. My name is Tyler Zeck, and I serve as the senior class representative for the Boulder Creek High School. This evening, I am speaking on behalf I have the privilege of serving 3 consecutive years in student government under our advisor's guidance and have known her throughout all 4 years of my high school experience. I first met our advisor in my freshman Spanish class, where she encouraged me to join the student government the following year, as she was going to be the advisor. Since that time, her classroom has become a place of belonging, a space where friendship, leadership, teamwork, and a sense of family can flourish. Like any family, we have shared laughter, shed tears, and occasionally disagreed, but we always remained united in one purpose: to improve our school community. Under her leadership, our student government has achieved the following recognitions: Platinum Level Charitable Service Award presented to councils that complete over 300 hours of community service. In 1 year alone, our council contributed over 2,000 hours. Council of Distinction Award presented by Arizona Association of Student Councils for 2 consecutive years. This award acknowledges the commitment and meaningful impact our council has had on both our school and the wider community. These achievements were only possible through our advisor's unwavering dedication, mentorship, and vision. Last Friday, on our final day as seniors, we left campus for the final time, unaware that she was being called to the office and dismissed from her role as a student government advisor for the 25-26 school year. When we were informed of this decision later that day, we were devastated. Despite occasional disagreements, as are natural in any organization, we never imagined that such a sudden and unexplained departure would happen. Several student government members have since reached out to administration through appropriate channels to seek some sort of clarification, and the only explanation provided was, and I quote, "We want student government to move in a new direction." When asked to elaborate on what that new direction entailed or why our advisor could not be a part of it, we were denied any information. As a graduating senior, this decision may not affect me directly. However, it deeply impacts my peers, my friends, and the organization to which I have proudly dedicated my high school career to. It dismantles the heart of our community and disregards the years of service she has given to this program. Therefore, I respectfully request that the governing board investigate the circumstances surrounding our advisor's dismissal and the lack of transparency in our administration in addressing this matter. Thank you for your time and allowing me to speak on behalf of those who care deeply about the future of our student government.
Good evening, board. Good evening, Dr. Finch. Good evening, everyone else. I'm Shai Siegel, and I'm a junior at Boulder Creek, and I've just been elected as the Spirit Director for Student Government. And so yesterday, I got out of my AP Calculus exam and was told I had to meet with my favorite teacher, the Boulder Creek Student Government Advisor. This is the person whose class I resonate with the most, the person who exemplifies character traits of a leader, and the person who brings optimistic students the most support. Unfortunately, the urgent news was how she was being forced to step down as our student government. This past year was only my first year on student government, and the energy she brought has made joining Stugo one of the greatest decisions of my life, and I wouldn't have made it this far if it wasn't for her, as she inspired me to join the executive board. Now being told that we're getting a new Stugo advisor and the admin of Boulder Creek are refusing to tell us the reasoning behind their decision or let us even have a say in it is truly disheartening, since she plays a huge role not only in our club, but in our lives. Furthermore, our advisor has had a significant impact on Boulder Creek Stugo, where in this building at the same time last year, we received the Council of Distinction Award as well as the Platinum Charity and Service Recognitions Award, which we had never received prior to her being appointed as our advisor. Even in just this past semester, with her guidance, our Stugo completed over 720 hours of community service. I'd like to add how my fellow Stugo member has already contacted the board to solve this issue and was told to go through the proper channels of administration, where he was then denied a response. If the Boulder Creek admin's best interest was the student body, then this decision would be able to be refuted by us students, or at the bare minimum, we deserve an explanation behind it. Us in Stugo feel that no one would be as qualified or deserving of the advisor role than our current one, so I hope the concerns that are being expressed get considered. Thank you for your time.
Good evening, board, stakeholders, and fellow staff members. I'm here to talk about the unfair state tax credit that public schools and private schools funding.
Please state your name.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Carrie Knutson. Back in '97, our state started the school tax credit, $500 for public schools, $400. I'm sorry, $500 for private schools, $400 for public schools. Now it is $1,500 for private schools and still $400 for public schools. It changes every year, and you might be wondering why it's so expansive. It's because our state legislators and our governor are the ones who pass the amount. All I'm asking is that as a community, we insist on equal tax credit as public and charter schools are taking private schools and charter schools are taking public funding. We should have the same opportunity to fund our public schools. If the Mandarin program had the right to the same tax credit, we wouldn't be having a problem of funding it. So.
Mr. Carver.
Mrs. Fisher.
I'd like to request that the administration gives the board information on what's going on with Boulder Creek. I did respond to the email from a student and asked them to follow through the process so that they could, because that's what we do. But ultimately, we are responsible, and we should at least be aware if there is a concern. And I understand there may be confidentiality issues, but the board should at least be aware of what's happening. We often get things from employees that are concerns that we should address and have not, but I think we should at least be aware of what's happening, and if it needs to be addressed, we can. The other thing I would like to ask, and I know it is on the agenda, but it's kind of out of order, so we may not be able to consider it. However, if we could, I wish that comment would have been during the ASBA. I just think it would be a good thing to add to our ASBA, because I do support all education, whether it's charter, public, private, whatever, all of it. However, it should be a fair thing, but only the legislature can change that. So it really should be something that we consider on our agenda for the ASBA agenda. That's just my opinion, but so I would like for that to somehow be added into that.
Are you speaking about the difference in tax credit?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll just share too that I'm happy to work with you on that. I've had another constituent reach out to me with the exact same statement, so we can get something ready for next session. And I just wanted to thank our students from Boulder Creek for coming and using your voices today, because we ask you guys to do that all the time. You know, when you see something and it's not right for you, you say something. So I would really love some background information on what's going on, as well as a board member, so that we can move forward with assisting you with this. Thank you.
On to governing reports. Ms. Simichek, are you ready?
Once again, just wanted to thank our teachers who came out here today, who are Teacher of the Year, as well as our nationally board certified teachers. Awesome job. Just really exciting to have this kind of a celebration and honoring at the end of our school year as we complete another year. And in addition to that, last week was Teacher Appreciation Week. So incredibly grateful for our teachers. Just wanted to make sure that we acknowledge that here publicly. I went just my 10-year-old, she's in 4th grade at Union Park. I went through her lists of teachers, which I include paras in that, because without them, she wouldn't be where she is. And we had 20 different teachers. And I thought to myself, what a lucky girl, you know, just because I think 6 or 7 of them were from just specials, like 3 PE teachers, art, music, band, all of these teachers. I just was thinking to myself how lucky she is to have all these wonderful experiences and these teachers that come together for her and for all of our kiddos in this district. So shout out to those special 20 teachers. They know who they are. And also just thank you to every single teacher who serves in the district, because I can I can tell you, I know it's an extremely challenging job, and especially right now with so much uncertainty that's going on. I just want you to hear it here and make it known, and that we appreciate you. We are grateful for you, and thank you for all that you do. And then as well, last week we had a celebration of our DVUSD retirees, which was my first time of going to that event, and it was extremely emotional. You see these amazing teachers walk up with 38 years of teaching experience, and they come up, and we had teachers and foremen and paras and cafeteria workers and everybody that comes together and makes this district run. And there's over 100 people, 100 people that are retiring this year, which to me seems like a lot. And about 50 or so of them were there at the event. Many that I've had the chance to work with in the past. Also many that have helped with my daughter's education. So that was really exciting. And when I say it was emotional, it's just because you look at these individuals who have devoted so much of their lives to making other lives better, which is our students, and that devotion and that caring and that love. And it just is really special to me. This Thursday and Friday, our high school graduates will become, or our high school students will become seniors, will become graduates. Really excited. It's probably one of my favorite things as a board member to do, to attend these graduations. And this year's extra special for me because I will have the best seat in the house when my daughter walks across the stage as a bulldog. And she's very excited. I'm thrilled for her. And once again, I want to just thank every single teacher who helped get her to where she is today, because she's quite an amazing young lady. So with that, I think that's good. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Semichek. Mrs. Fisher.
Well, I have a little list. Just based on Ms. Simichek's report, I don't know if y'all have already had discussions. I know we don't seem to be honoring any of the traditions that we've had for a long time, but there is a tradition that when a student of a board member is graduating, that board member is allowed to take the place of the president and is allowed to accept that graduated class. And so I just think that's something that should be considered. I know that the year I was president, Ms. O'Brien's daughter was graduating from O'Connor, and I made the offer to her, and she was able to accept her daughter's graduating class. I don't know if you guys knew about that or if it was a thing, but maybe have that discussion. It has been a tradition, long-standing, and it is an honor to be able to do. So those are graduations on Thursday and Friday. Everybody should be excited. This has been a really weird year for me. In an attempt to try and keep some sort of peace, I have avoided the events that I normally attend this time of year. I did not go to the Victory with Honor or the retiree, which I normally do attend, because of so much hostility. I did get an injunction of harassment from individual, which I don't need to say their name publicly. They know who they are, and this board knows who they are. And so I've tried to keep the peace. However, it doesn't seem to make a difference. That individual just does not want to have peace. It is something that the board is going to eventually have to address, and we are going to have to, because like I said, the injunction is in place, and it is a safety issue at this point. I did, however, attend the last couple of ASBO monthly meetings, and I'm not really sure if this note was from ASBO or if it was from some of the district meetings that I've been watching. So, Mr. Miglarino, if you could let us know, or possibly have Heather let us know if we need to make any policy adjustments to any of our policies regarding GASB 101. And I don't know why I have that written down. It was by my ASBO, but I don't recall that being part of that meeting. So it may have been something another district was doing. So if you could just let us know if we need to make an adjustment or not. The other thing that I was very concerned with is in the Friday update, we were provided an opinion regarding the Liberty Elementary School District Governing Board. And I will tell you, because Ken Hicks was at the governing board and was assisting them when their business manager resigned, I've been watching all their meetings. I would actually encourage this board to watch the Liberty Board meetings. Take a look, and that's what a governing board is supposed to do. Ask those questions and work together to balance a budget for the good of the community. Actually do their job. I just really was saddened to hear that board be degraded in the Friday update. And so I just wanted to note that governing boards have a responsibility, and it is in title. And I pray someday this board starts doing it again. That led me to looking at our board over the time that I've been on the board, which is the last 12 years. And I discovered two things. One, in the past, governing boards were very much about doing their job and improving this district, and they did. We did. We brought in a lot of studies that were very important and have really driven administration. The other thing that I noted in doing all that is that we are losing principals year after year in droves. There is a problem that is making everybody leave, and we do have some legal issues that we've been informed of, but we need updates because it is our job to know those things. It is our names that are on those lawsuits. And so once again, I'm asking that we are informed with what's happening.
Thank you, Mrs. Fisher. Mr. Botfield.
It's been an interesting couple of weeks. It started with the 19th annual Pursuing with Honors Award Banquet. And then you got Deer Valley High Schools doing a choir and guitar spring concert. And then Barry Goldwater High School has a night at the movies and choir and theater senior showcase. Then you go to Boulder Creek and there's the 2025 Spring Dance Concert and also the Pops and Shining Stars of Revolution. Then you go to Sandra Day O'Connor High School. By the way, it is a high school. And they had something called Memory Lane. And then we went to Park Meadows for the SCORE program. That's Autistic Score Night of the Arts. This gave me 4 interesting thoughts. The first one was, my Lord, there are some talented students. But there are even more talented teachers who are working with those students. If you look at the performers, you'll see them smile. What does that mean? It means they're enjoying what they're doing. Think about that for a second, because when I was in high school, I didn't enjoy anything. The third point was there was male and female inclusivity. And when I say male and female, in the sports thing, there were a lot of females. In the dance thing, there were a lot of males. Surprise. And then finally, the fourth thought was the autism program. What people don't realize is that autistic people are people. You need to respect them, treat them with care, and let them enjoy their lives. Where could they get into a private school? Never. The only place that they could ever get into would be a public school. And there, the students who are with them are treating them as equals. It was terrific. On that note, and with my compliments to every teacher in the room, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Budfeld. Dr. Peck.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to extend my thoughts and prayers to the Jarvinen family, Franco family, two members of our Deer Valley community that we lost. I also want to say thank you and kudos to the students that came out to speak. That's very exciting to see young leaders, public speaking and all that. And also thank you to community members that come out. We need to hear from our community, and emails are great. Public speaking in front of us is great and important. So I did attend the retired teachers celebration, and it was bittersweet for me because I want to retire someday. And so many great teachers in that room, some of them very personal friends of mine, some of them relatives of teachers I currently work with. And it was just heartwarming to see the district take the time to honor them and appreciate them, and the smiles on their face and the camaraderie of their family with them was so exciting to see. So that was a really neat event, especially since it was the first time I've been to that. I also did read lots and lots of vouchers. I'm using less Post-it notes. I'm getting answers to my questions. I'm learning a lot. Like 40 students are going to the FBLA conference, which is exciting since I was involved with that when I was in high school. I also did speak to learn more about governing boards. I spoke to a governing board member in another school district because we have like interest, concerns, camaraderie, and so spreading my governing board wings and learning more from others was helpful. I do want to say thank you to every board member on this board, because as a reminder to the community, my family, my friends, and everybody out there, this is a volunteer position. We carry the weight of our district and our concerns on our shoulders. We wake up at night, we think about things, we read, we research, and it's a lot of work. And we do it because it's a civic duty. We do it because of the kids. I don't have any political aspirations beyond the school board, but I feel like I'm making a difference. And I just want to remind people, the Lorax, unless someone like you cares a awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. So thank you, fellow board members.
Thank you, Dr. Pack. Appreciate that. I'd like to reiterate what a few board members have said. Thank you so much to the community that came out and spoke tonight, to you students. You should be commended for that. Some folks will live to be 2 to 3 times your age and never do what it is that you did tonight. So you should be proud of yourselves for standing up for what you believe in. Give you guys a quick rundown of where I've been and what I've been doing the last 3 weeks. Stetson Hills A+ celebration. Early childhood celebration at sunrise. They do this annually. It's kind of like a picnic carnival sort of an atmosphere. They've got a fire truck and bubble machine and food for the families. They usually have over 500 plus in attendance, and it was the same thing again this year. Later on that same day, I went to Las Brisas Steam Night. If you ever get a chance to go to a Las Brisas Steam Night, not too unlike a lot of our Steam Nights, they've got some amazing projects going on over there, all the way from cardboard versions of skate parks to what catapults and trebuchets look like from the ancient Roman era. And it's just really amazing some of the things that our children and our educators are pulling off nowadays. Terramar A+ celebration with Ms. Sharon that was here earlier tonight with us. Pursuing Victory with Honor Awards. That's always nice to make it out there. I believe there was, I want to say 12 awards given out. The TPP graduation, the teacher prep program, we had 45 teachers graduate that program this year. So, you know, we lost 100 teachers to retirement, and we've replaced 45 of them already. So that's amazing succession planning. The district should be commended for that, and our TPP program is becoming a model for other districts so that they can take care of their own in-house needs instead of always having to worry about where are we going to get the next great thing. We'll just grow them ourselves. So those folks should be congratulated. We're looking forward to seeing them enter the classroom and being able to manage their own classrooms. Mountain Ridge High School Bioscience and Engineering capstone presentations. That was pretty amazing. I tell you, words cannot do some of these things justice that you can actually go out and witness for yourselves. And I know I've said this a million times since coming onto this dais, and I'm going to say it one more time. For those of you in the community, take an opportunity to go out to a school in your neighborhood, not in your neighborhood, somewhere in the district. see something on the marquee and go see what's going on that night, because I tell you what, the capstone presentations that these kids put together were absolutely amazing. The level of research that they did and some of the solutions that they came up with are real applied solutions that could be used. And it's just, I wouldn't have thought of doing it when I was their age, when I was in school. Barry Goldwater Senior Awards Night, there were over 80 kids on that stage with us that received some sort of award, whether it was a literacy award or scholarship, or we had tassels flying all over the place, all the awards that the kids were earning. And there was one gentleman there, he received a acceptance to the Naval Academy, and he also received a scholarship from the Space Force to use at a college of his choice. So needless to say, they were a little upset when they found out he was going to use their money to go to the Naval Academy, but it was a source of entertainment for the evening. Lots of scholarships being, I don't want to say handed out, but lots of scholarships earned. Also went to the Mountain Ridge High School Senior Awards Night. They actually told me that their seniors pulled down $20 million in scholarships this year, so that was pretty amazing. Made it to the retirement celebration. The retirement celebration the year before, when I went to the retirement celebration, there were actually teachers in that crowd that were in the district teaching when I was a student here. So, and that's been a long time ago now. It's amazing. I said something to the group. I was given an opportunity to speak to them. Deer Valley is not about hiring heartbeats. We're about hiring hearts. And that may not make sense to a lot of people at the 40,000 foot view, but think about it for a minute. And we saw a lot of really good hearts hang up their shoes that night. And they were all reminded they might get a call in August to come back. But if not, we understand. Did a community cleanup on Saturday with the Friends of Deer Valley and Honeywell. I was able to speak to the gentleman that would actually be able to create a community partnership with us. And he's interested in talking to me about maybe working over at Vista Peak to help us with a project we've been talking about over there. And Las Brisas had an Eagle Scout project where the young man got all of the donations necessary to build a Gaga pit. Not exactly sure what those are nowadays, but every campus seems to be getting them. So good deal. Thank you, everybody. Dr. Finch.
Thanks, Mr. Carver. I was handed a list of what has taken place this year. As we always try to do better every year in Deer Valley, and so she just handed me this list, and I thought, I'm going to read it. It's pretty amazing what has happened this year. I think we forget how far we've come. For example, many of these things are the first in the history of Deer Valley. One is Boulder Creek's Emmett Burton was named Arizona's Teacher of the Year, and his partner in crime at Boulder Creek High School as well, Ryan Donovan, was the runner-up. And to have two in the top five has never happened in the history of Deer Valley. We also had a record-breaking 27 A schools. That's for the highest we've ever had in our history, including, for the first time in our history, all 5 high schools being A-rated. We had 3 more schools that were given the A+ School of Excellence Award, and that puts our district over the 50% mark of our schools that have received that. Deer Valley also was named America's Best Midsize, or Arizona's Best Midsize Employer for the 5th time in a row, 5th consecutive year. That's the first in our history. O'Connor High School, we had a Flynn Scholar. That's the 4th consecutive year a Deer Valley student has won a Flynn Scholar in our district, so that's first as well. We've taken home so far 21 state or national championships or runner-ups in athletics, including a 4-peat in beach volleyball, which is the first time in our district's history. Congrats to those gals. We still have teams that are playing today, trying to chase those state titles. We had a bunch of state title winners over the weekend, and you'll see them in a future meeting when they get to pick up their handshake. We had STEAM Academies. Sarah Verde was here last 2 weeks ago when their 5th grade team claimed the State Vocabulary Bowl Championship again. And so congratulations to Sierra Verde. We also had a national champion in the Chinese speech competition. You remember that? We actually I interviewed her on the podcast. She's from Boulder Creek High School. You need to check out the podcast and hear her story. Park Meadows received a level 4 PBIS award. That was the highest we've ever had in our system. 35 CTE students were named state or runner-up titles this year, and 3 students finished in the top 10 in the world in DECA. We've never done that as well. An OC student was named Phoenix Outstanding Youth Leader of the Year this year. We had actually a couple last year from Goldwater. And then also what happened this year, first time in the history of Deer Valley, Goldwater and Mountain Ridge won the 2 state titles in marching band. So we've had a banner year again, and thanks to all the staff members that help us get there and the students that put in the time and the effort to reach these heights. It's a declaration of our commitment to excellence, and it takes a whole team. So keep up the great work. Enjoy the last couple days of school. Graduation for the big kids is coming up, and so congratulations to them making it to the end of the journey. And look forward to a great summer. Get recharged, come back for school next year. Thank you. For me? What would you like? Nothing to share. That's it. That's it. That's all I got. Unless you want
Future
something
board
to-
meetings are listed on the district website. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? I want to thank you all for coming tonight. Board members, don't forget we have an executive session immediately following.
If you'd like to learn about the process for the superintendent evaluation, we'll have